Chapter 219. Nangong Shen continued to stay in the Hunter Hall to preside over the promotion. Yi Qinghan took the lead to lead the insane sect, Yi Lingyu, and Yi Jianma back to his hall. Lingyu, Yi Jianma, I owe you a favor, and I'll repay it today. I don't know if this holy elixir can change your fate, but it'll definitely help your cultivation. Yi Qinghan sealed the main hall and took out a thumb-sized bloody corpse Ganoderma. Its fragrance assailed the nostrils and its Tao was everlasting. This is. Yi Lingyu was shocked. This holy elixir was rarely seen in 10,000 years. He couldn't recognize it. This is called bloody corpse Ganoderma. It's the essence of the great emperor's blood. What you can get from this elixir depends on your luck. Whether you can change your fate also depends on your luck, Yi Qinghan said frankly. Yi Lingyu's mouth twitched. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be so generous as to give such a precious elixir to them. Take it. There's still some left. They'll all have a share. This is a little reward for not betraying me and helping me back then. Yi Qinghan put the bloody corpse Ganoderma in Yi Lingyu's hand and patted his shoulder. He said seriously, I think your luck will come later. Your future will be brilliant. I'll thank you in advance. I feel uneasy taking advantage of you. 1 year later, I'll personally perform a divination for you and help you avoid certain death. Yi Jianma nodded. A life in exchange for a holy elixir was a win-win situation for both of them. Yi Lingyu probably didn't expect that because of this bloody corpse Ganoderma, he would obtain a great opportunity and Yi Jianma's fate would change. Only a group of insane sect disciples, Mu Yu, and Tianchen were left in the hall. Their eyes were shining. If they gave Yi Lingyu a holy elixir, they wouldn't be any worse. Sure enough, Yi Qinghan took out an even bigger bloody corpse Ganoderma. Even if they divided it equally, it wouldn't be less than Yi Lingyu's. Yi Qinghan distributed them according to cultivation and talent. Nangong Qingyue was grinning from ear to ear. With this holy divine medicine, she would definitely be able to step into the ranks of true first-rate powerhouses and would no longer be behind Mu Yu Tianchen. Nangong Xiaobei also obtained quite a bit. In order to speed up his progress, he directly ran to his room and started refining. The juniors all retreated, leaving only Gu Qingyu holding the biggest blood corpse Ganoderma. Qingyu, you have to walk your own path. I can't give you too much advice. Let me show you a Sword Dao chapter of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex. It might be of help to you. Yi Qinghan decided to share the Divine Martial Imperial Codex with his brothers. Gu Qingyu's body shook. He gazed at Yi Qinghan and asked in a hoarse voice, You really have the God Martial Emperor canon? It really is, but I couldn't control it in my previous life, so I couldn't hand it over. I also couldn't use it to save the Yi clan, so I couldn't say anything back then. Even if I did, no one would believe me. I could only watch as the Yi clan was slaughtered. Yi Qinghan felt guilty when he mentioned the Yi clan. Let bygones be bygones. Don't think about it anymore. After all, the enemy has already been killed. Only the traitor of the Yi clan is left. When we return to the Xiaolong region in the future, we will find him sooner or later. Gu Qingyu nodded and said. And, after reading the Sword Dao chapter of the Divine Martial Emperor canon, you should bitterly cultivate for a period of time. Make a trip to the eternal battlefield and find Sikong Qingjun. I wonder if something happened to him. Yi Qinghan's eyes were filled with worry. Gu Qingyu nodded. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He wanted to see what the great emperor's Sword Dao was like. Yi Qinghan formed seals with both of his palms and concentrated his mental power to call out the Divine Martial Imperial Codex. The pages of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex continuously flipped. After a long time, it turned to the Sword Dao chapter. The sharp sword qi was incomparably overbearing. It was as if the emperor's sword was hanging in the air, ready to slash down and shatter everything at any time. The supreme sword intent filled the hall and displayed itself in front of Gu Qingyu's eyes before shooting into his sea of consciousness. Gu Qingyu took a deep breath and stared at the imperial codex without blinking. Even if his consciousness was damaged, he was not willing to give up. He desperately tried to comprehend the great emperor's sword intent. The Sword Dao chapter of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex evolved into a sword that split the sky. It seemed slow, but in fact, it was extremely fast. It contained countless profound meanings and came from the end of the universe. In the blink of an eye, it shattered hundreds of millions of li of space and time. Wherever it passed, dead stars were shattered and star regions were split open. PFFF. Gu Qingyu spat out a mouthful of essence blood and his mental power was dispirited. No matter how powerful his solitary sword Dao was, it could not be compared to the great emperor's sword Dao for the time being. Go back and consume the bloody corpse Lingji. It will definitely be beneficial to your cultivation. It is not suitable to read the Divine Martial Imperial Codex now. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Thank you, brother. Gu Qingyu nodded. One sword, one man, one brother. There was no need to say anything more since the Divine Martial Imperial Codex was open for him. Brother, there is no need to thank me. Yi Qinghan smiled and left the hall, heading straight for the Imperial Abyss City. The Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty, the imperial capital, had a history of tens of thousands of years. It was a ninth-grade dynasty built by a great emperor. Even until now, it was still an upper eighth-grade dynasty. As long as a great emperor was born, this dynasty would quickly return to being a ninth-grade dynasty. The Crown Prince's palace was vast and majestic. The spiritual energy was overwhelming and it was comparable to a sacred ground. On the Ice Dragon Mountain, a young man dressed in a golden battle robe stood at the peak of the mountain. He looked incomparably cold and lonely. His hair was hanging down, occasionally fluttering in the wind. The side of his face was like jade, as if it was a work of the gods. He was holding a 4-feet-long ice sword. It was crystal clear, as if it was a sword of frost. Looking from behind, it was like looking at a majestic ice mountain, making people unable to approach him. He was the only one in the huge Crown Prince's palace. One could see how cold and lonely he was. He didn't want to communicate with others. He had entrusted his life to the Sword Dao so that he could lead the heroes of the human race to destroy the Forbidden Land. He was the Crown Prince of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty, Xia Qiyu. His combat strength was unparalleled. He had already torn apart a top-grade king-level beast. That was his first battle after entering the world, and also the battle that made him famous. Brother! You have to help me. My father is crazy. How could he let me marry a Tao master? A clear voice came from the bottom of the mountain, interrupting Xia Qiyue's thoughts. Xia Qiyu slowly turned around. His eyes were as bright as stars, deep and vast. His face was enough to make the world lose its color and make women jealous. At this moment, there was a faint smile on his face, which made the Ice Dragon Mountain full of vitality. Perhaps only this little girl could interrupt Xia Qiyue's thoughts and make him smile. Xia Ziluo was the youngest princess of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. On the day she was born, purple qi came from the east and descended on the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. It made the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty's fortune even richer. Hence, she was named Xia Ziluo. She was deeply loved by the strong cultivators of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. Her status was as high as Crown Prince Xia Qiyue's. Xia Ziluo was very fast. In the blink of an eye, she was halfway up the mountain. In a flash, she appeared in front of Xia Qiyu. You crazy girl. You don't know how to cultivate. All you know is to run around. You really need a man to discipline you. Xia Qiyu looked at the peerless beauty in front of him. She was wearing a phoenix coronet and a robe, as if she had walked out of a fairyland. She was crystal clear and flawless. The sky eagle was about 1.7 meters tall. Her face was definitely 16 years old, but her body was 20 years old. At this moment, she was pouting, revealing a pair of deep dimples. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and pretended to be angry. "Brother. Are you really my brother? Father wants to marry me off. Did you hear that? I'm marrying a little Dao Master rookie that I've never seen before. You can crush countless little rookies with a single finger. It's better to kill me than to marry such a man." Xia Ziluo was furious. Her eyes were wide open like the bright moon. Xia Qiue frowned and looked at Xia Ziluo in confusion. She asked, "Where did you get the news?" "Father personally sent a message to me." "It can't be wrong." Xia Ziluo's eyes reddened. Then, she said coquettishly, "Brother, help me persuade father, or beat that boy up and make him reject the marriage." Xia Qiue's eyes moved. She was even more curious. What kind of person could make her father interested? And it was a Dao master. Which Dao realm Holy Land's direct disciple? Who is it? Which Dao realm Holy Land? Xia Qiue asked indifferently. What's his name? Yi Qinghan. Yes, it's this name. I've never heard of it. In short, I don't care. Take me to Emperor Abyss City. I want to defeat him and make him reject the marriage. Otherwise, I'll break his legs. Xia Ziluo said angrily. But with this baby face and pleasant voice, no matter how one looked at it, she was acting coquettishly and not angry. Don't be impulsive and disrupt father's plans. Let's go to Emperor Abyss City first. Maybe you'll be satisfied. Xia Qiue frowned. Her cold sword trembled, and the sound of the sword soared into the sky. A dragon carriage rushed out from the crown prince's palace. It was pulled by a 7th-rank azure dragon, overflowing with majesty. Whoosh, the two of them soared into the sky and boarded the dragon carriage. Their speed was as fast as lightning, and the azure dragon rushed toward Emperor Abyss City. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was buying materials for the transformation pill. He was about to leave when a chill suddenly enveloped him. He sneezed, frowning as he muttered to himself, "Who has such a deep grudge against me?" But he didn't feel any danger. He just felt a chill all over his body. Yi Qinghan didn't care. He had received a lot of materials, and now it was time to return the favor. The god-slaying eagles had followed him for several years and had been injured many times. He had been very busy these days and hadn't had time to help them advance to the 5th rank, nor had he let them transform. Now that he was free, he had to start refining them. Even if they couldn't follow him into battle, he had to give them a good home. Returning to the main hall, Yi Qinghan began to use his true essence to stimulate the earth fire and refine the transformation pill. This kind of pill wasn't too high level. At most, it was the top 5th rank. With Yi Qinghan's current strength, he might be able to refine a 6th rank transformation pill. With a good treasure like the smelting divine furnace, he could refine both weapons and pills. The refining of the form transformation pills was very fast. After 6 hours, he had finished refining them. 2 6th-grade form transformation pills and 4 5th-grade top-grade form transformation pills. After that, he summoned Emperor Yi and asked her to summon the god-slaying eagles. The 2 god-slaying eagles, who hadn't shown themselves for a long time, had the support of their bloodlines. Their bloodlines were rich and high level, and they were almost at the 5th rank. They were much smarter and were about to transform. When they saw Yi Qinghan, they immediately flattered him and kept rubbing against Yi Qinghan's robes. Yi Qinghan casually waved his hand, and the last piece of bloody corpse Ganoderma split into 2 and placed it in front of the god-slaying eagles. Eat it. If you can advance to the 6th rank, you will accompany me in battle. If not, I will give you your freedom. Yi Qinghan said to the god-slaying eagles in a low voice. Chapter 220. The main hall was majestic and surrounded by buildings. Hundreds of hunters rushed out of their houses and looked at Yi Qinghan's room. Wisps of majestic aura were spreading and strengthening, as if a super ferocious beast was awakening. What is that? Where did this ferocious beast come from? How dare it come to the hunter's territory? Find it. It seems to be the aura coming from Yi Qinghan's main hall. Why does it feel like a low-level ferocious beast is evolving? Everyone was discussing. The aura was getting stronger and stronger, surpassing level 6, and it was still growing. It has surpassed level 6. Go and inform Master Nangong. Don't let anything happen to Yi Qinghan. Everyone was very sensitive to the level of demonic beasts. They immediately identified it. Soon, 3-star hunters rushed out and went straight to the hunter's main hall. Nangong Shen was shocked when he learned that Yi Qinghan's residence had a level 6 ferocious beast. That was in existence in the immortal realm, and its aura was still rising. If something happened, it would be a great loss to the human race. Whoosh, Nangong Shen used the power of law and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan's main hall. He found that the entire hall was covered by an invisible gang qi. Unless he broke it open by force, he could not enter. Space law, appear. Nangong Shen used his palms as fingers and swiped them in front of his eyes. His eyes turned into scorching suns and pierced through the void. He saw through the shackles of space and looked at the center of the main hall. 2 powerful god-slaying eagles were evolving crazily, their bodies emitting golden light. Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan were standing at the side, very safe. Phew, Nangong Shen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He was shocked by Yi Qinghan's courage. First, he made a sealed dead spirit, and its level was frighteningly high. Then, he pulled out a great emperor's corpse. He dared to travel through the alternate space when he was still a Dao master. Now, he was raising level 6 ferocious beasts. Was there anything he did not dare to do? The god-slaying eagles shone with golden light and radiated divinity. There were wisps of emperor's aura around them. What the hell did Yi Qinghan feed the god-slaying eagles? A 4th-grade god-slaying eagle could actually be raised to a 6th-grade god-slaying eagle. Nangong Shen's hair stood on end. He wanted to rush in and interrupt, but he was afraid of affecting Yi Qinghan's plan. All he could do was wait anxiously. As time passed, the god-slaying eagle's aura continued to strengthen. Yi Qinghan forced out 2 drops of golden blood from his fingertips. The spiritual energy was overwhelming and contained the profound meaning of the nomological laws. They shot directly into the god-slaying eagle's mouth. Screech! The god-slaying eagle let out a solemn and stirring roar. It spread its wings and covered the spacetime, shattering the gang qi outside the hall. Nangong Shen immediately charged in. At this moment, the god-slaying eagle's wingspan was several hundred feet. It flew straight into the void from the backyard and let out a deafening roar. The powerhouses within 100 miles were shocked and raised their heads one after another. They saw that the top rank 6 ferocious bird was evolving rapidly and was about to reach rank 7. They were shocked. Brother Yi, is your god-slaying eagle loyal? Nangong Shen asked anxiously. Don't worry, no problem. Yi Qinghan's eyes were filled with surprise. He thought that the god-slaying eagle could purify rank 6 at most. He did not expect that a piece of bloody corpse Lingji and his origin blood essence would allow them to reach rank 7. A rank 7 god-slaying eagle. This is the first time I've seen it. It's also the first time it has appeared in history. You've created a miracle. Nangong Shen was speechless. He stared at the void and realized that the god-slaying eagle was transforming. Its wings were expanding rapidly, and its body was becoming stronger and bigger. Its sharp claws shook lightly, and ripples appeared in the void. Its feathers turned from black to pale gold. It emitted golden light and a powerful aura. The god-slaying eagle had already broken the miracle. Its body had become more than 50 meters long. When it spread its wings, the sky darkened. Its sharp eyes pierced through the sky. It was still transforming. Screech! The god-slaying eagle let out a final roar. Its sharp claws completely shattered the sky. Its bloodline had officially entered rank 7. Its wings had become divine weapons. Each feather contained the nomological laws of attack. Its entire body was completely golden. Its body broke through 100 meters, and its wings beat the river. Even the 3-star hunter's expressions changed. You didn't disappoint me. A rank 7 ferocious bird, the god-slaying eagle. I might be able to cultivate it to rank 8, or even the top of rank 8. Yi Qinghan was excited. Rank 9 ferocious birds were too rare. This kind of creature was the natural enemy of most creatures. Once a rank 9 emperor-level god-slaying eagle appeared, it would definitely be invincible. Even the great emperors of the human race would have to be cautious. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan carried Emperor Yi and soared into the sky. They landed on the rank 7 god-slaying eagle's wings. The god-slaying eagle didn't have any intention to resist. It carried Yi Qinghan and gently spread its wings. They traveled 1,000,000 miles. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle disappeared from the eyes of tens of thousands of people in the blink of an eye. In 2 hours, it had traveled hundreds of millions of miles. This distance was equivalent to 1/10 of the sovereign region's radius. It was equivalent to the god-slaying eagle charging out of the sovereign region in 40 hours. Their speed was unparalleled in history. It was comparable to the human race's great perfection divine martial artists. It was even faster than some of the slower fake emperors. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle swallowed a large number of spirit crystals and quickly replenished its true essence. Its speed became faster and faster. With a light flap of its wings, it traveled 1,000,000 miles. Ha ha ha! Yi Qinghan raised his head and laughed. To be able to nurture 2 miracles, even if he used the bloody corpse Lingji, it wasn't a loss. The god-slaying eagle clearly knew that it would be easy to force Yi Qinghan to break the contract. However, it wasn't willing to leave at this moment. Now that it had advanced to rank 7, it naturally wanted to rush to rank 8. It even wanted to create a precedent and rush to the top of the 10,000 races, becoming a rank 9 bird. Until now, there were only a few races in the 10,000 races. They enslaved the other races. Every race wanted a supreme existence to rush out and lead their race to become the supreme royalty. The god-slaying eagle also wanted to. Screech! The god-slaying eagle swooped down and started to return to the hunter's territory. Although Emperor Yi couldn't see it, he could feel the vastness of the endless universe. Standing at the top of the sky and looking down on all living things, this feeling made him very happy. He reached out with both hands, wanting to grasp the world. Yi Qinghan smiled. His clothes fluttered. Looking at the Emperor Abyss City in front of him, he was inexplicably excited. Roar! There was a deafening roar. The Azure Dragon's aura spread for thousands of miles. The god-slaying eagle and the Azure Dragon fought fiercely from tens of thousands of miles away. Their hostility was very obvious. The Azure Dragon wasn't a real dragon. It was just a high-level flood dragon. It still belonged to the half-snake race. Its natural enemy was the god-slaying eagle. At this moment, as soon as they touched, it immediately roared. Its sharp claws tore through the void, and it arched its body to attack. Yi Qinghan's eyes pierced through thousands of miles. He saw a young man and a woman on the dragon carriage. They were dressed in imperial battle robes and a phoenix coronet. Although he didn't know that they were from the Sky Dragon's sacred dynasty, he could guess that they were imperial princes. He didn't want to offend them, so he suppressed the god-slaying eagle directly. Not an enemy. Don't attack. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The god-slaying eagle immediately quieted down. It followed Yi Qinghan's lead. Emperor Yi jumped onto the back of another god-slaying eagle. His broad back was as steady as a continent. There wasn't the slightest jolt or panic. The azure dragon was shocked and angry at the god-slaying eagle. It couldn't stop roaring and roaring. Xia Qiyu frowned. Her cold sword shook, and sword qi rushed into the clouds. Imperial qi spread out, suppressing the azure dragon. If you dare to be presumptuous again, I'll kill you. Xia Qiyue's voice was cold and incomparably lonely. Although the azure dragon was at the 7th rank, it didn't dare to refute such a terrifying imperial prince's will. Yi Qinghan looked at Xia Qiyue and Xia Ziluo from afar. He cupped his fists and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I'm very sorry. My mount has frightened the azure dragon. Xia Ziluo looked at the huge god-slaying eagle and was dumbfounded. She had never heard of such a huge god-slaying eagle, and it was at the 7th rank. Now that she saw it with her own eyes, she felt like she was dreaming. What a huge bird! Xia Ziluo exclaimed, covering her mouth. Ha ha ha, master has an even bigger bird. Do you want to see? The parrot suddenly jumped out and looked at the innocent Xia Ziluo. It couldn't help but say vulgarly. Is there a bigger bird than this? Let it out for me to see. Xia Ziluo didn't understand what the parrot was talking about and immediately said. Xia Ziluo didn't understand, but it was impossible for Xia Qiyue to not understand. Her expression immediately turned cold, and her eyes were like swords piercing through the rainbow as she stared at the parrot. The parrot's feathers bristled, and it returned to Yi Qinghan's body again, not daring to say anything. Yi Qinghan was speechless. This lowly bird was too disgusting and always caused trouble. Seeing Xia Qiyue so angry, he couldn't help but smile bitterly and cup his fists. Brother, please don't mind it. This bird is too lowly and speaks without thinking. Please don't mind it. But I want to see that bigger bird of yours. Quickly let it out for me to see. Your parrot is also very cute. I'll use a treasure to exchange for it. Xia Ziluo was rich and overbearing. She was prepared to use a supreme treasure to exchange for the parrot with Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was speechless. First of all, that huge bird didn't exist. Moreover, no matter how big that bird was, it couldn't be compared to the god-slaying eagle. Moreover, if he gave the parrot to Xia Ziluo, the forces behind them would definitely collapse. Xia Qiyue looked coldly at Yi Qinghan. She noticed that Yi Qinghan was only at the peak of the Dao Master realm, half a step away from the Great Martial Venerable realm. Moreover, she vaguely remembered that he introduced himself as Yi Qinghan. She couldn't help but frown and think to herself, is this the person that father likes? He actually has a 7th-rank god-slaying eagle. His luck is indeed tyrannical. Are you Yi Qinghan, fellow Yi? Xia Qiyue asked cautiously. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He didn't expect that someone at this level would be worthy of his name. He immediately laughed and cried. Yes, it's really me. May I know who you two are, Xia Qiyue of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty? Xia Qiyue replied coldly. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath. Xia Qiyue, this genius, was one of the strongest youths of the human race. She was only at the middle level of the Immortal Gate, but she had instantly killed the shape-shifted beings of the top king realm bloodline of the 10,000 races. She was definitely one of the most terrifying figures. He didn't expect to see her here today. So it's fellow Xia. Yi Qinghan hurriedly cupped his fists and replied. So you're that brat. This princess won't marry a rookie like you. Xia Ziluo glared at Yi Qinghan. She couldn't wait to glare at Yi Qinghan and make him fall from the sky. Then, Xia Qintian would terminate this marriage. Yi Qinghan frowned. When was he going to marry her? As the person involved, he actually didn't know. Who are you? When did Master want to marry you? Why didn't I know? Before Yi Qinghan could reply, Emperor Yi immediately rebuked coldly. Chapter 221. Emperor Ye's question was incomparably cold, more like that of an emperor. Xia Qiyu was stunned by the innate emperor's aura. When had Xia Ziluo ever been criticized like this? Moreover, Emperor Ye's attitude was so arrogant and cold, as if he was looking down on her like an ordinary person. She was instantly furious. Who are you? Where did this girl come from? How dare you be disrespectful to me? Xia Ziluo retorted coldly. The smell of gunpowder was strong between a peerless beauty and an otherworldly woman, especially when Emperor Yi felt the other party's childish face and voluptuous body and then looked at himself. At most, he was a little sunny egg. He couldn't help but pout. Brother Xia, is this your sister? I don't have any engagement with her. What does she mean by that? Yi Qinghan didn't care about what Xia Qintian said at the time, not to mention that it was purely to rope him in. He didn't take it to heart at all. This. Xia Qiyu was also a little confused. Logically speaking, her father was the emperor of the human world, a peak 8th stage quasi-emperor. He shouldn't be so unreliable. Why didn't the two parties know about the engagement he set? The god-slaying eagle and azure dragon were still in a fierce confrontation, looking at each other with hatred. The god-slaying eagle's eyes were almost spewing flames. It wanted nothing more than to tear the azure dragon apart and drink its blood to evolve the power of its bloodline. Yi Qinghan directly put away his god-slaying eagle. His figure flashed, and he appeared beside Emperor Yi. He cupped his fists and said to Xia Qiyu, Qinghan indeed doesn't know about the engagement. If you have any questions, let's go down and talk. That's good. I'm also curious about you. How did you get this 7th stage god-slaying eagle? Xia Qiyu was still shocked. This was simply unprecedented. If there was a way, she might be able to evolve her azure dragon to 8th stage. Let's go down. I'm going to teach this girl a lesson. Xia Ziluo's purple aura rose as she glared at Emperor Yi. Afraid of you? I'll defeat you in one move. Emperor Ye's aura rose as he looked down at Xia Ziluo. Xia Qiyu looked at Emperor Yi indifferently. She found that his eyes were closed and his aura was extraordinary. She always felt frightened and didn't dare to have that kind of feeling. After all, Emperor Yi was only at the middle level of the Tao Master realm. He was still far from the immortal gate. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle swooped down and appeared outside Imperial Abyss City. Its speed was much faster than the azure dragon. Emperor Yi put away the god-slaying eagle and coldly waited for Xia Ziluo. He decided to teach this little woman of unknown origins a good lesson. She was too self-righteous and actually dared to despise the most important person in her heart. Yi Qinghan could feel the hostility in Emperor Ye's heart and couldn't help but bitterly smile. He placed his hand on Emperor Ye's shoulder and waited for Xia Qiyu and Xia Ziluo to arrive. Grown, the azure dragon's long roar alarmed an area of 5,000 kilometers around Emperor Abyss City. It's the crown prince of the Sky Dragon Sacred Dynasty, Xia Qiyu. The peerless emperor's son. He actually appeared. Let's go and take a look. He doesn't have a single follower until now. I might have a chance. The one beside him seems to be Zixian, Princess Xia Ziluo. Emperor Abyss City was in an uproar. The younger generation appeared outside Emperor Abyss City, and even many hunters came. Nangong Shen, Lin Aoqiong, and the others also came. After all, the azure dragon's roar was enough to alarm existences like them. What wind has blown Brother Xia here? Princess Zixian is also here. Looks like Emperor Abyss City is going to be lively. Nangong Shen cupped his fists and said. Xia Qiuyue nodded indifferently and didn't say another word. Lin Aoqiong, Dugu Baidian, and the others narrowed their eyes and looked at Xia Qiuyue. Their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. They were younger than Xia Qiuyue, so their cultivation levels were naturally a little lower. However, Emperor's Sun-level existences depended on their combat strength and not their cultivation levels. Xia Qiuyue ignored everyone and looked at Yi Qinghan. She said in a low voice, "You really don't know about the marriage between you and my younger sister? Brother Xia, I really don't know about this. Before this, I've never seen your younger sister. I've only heard of her beautiful name. How could there be a marriage agreement? I wonder where you got the news." Yi Qinghan frowned and asked in return. "Xia Ziluo, stop dreaming. My master won't marry you. You don't have a chance." Emperor Yi said bluntly. His tone was firm and contained an absolute will. Xia Ziluo was furious. She looked coldly at Emperor Yi and carefully sized him up. She found that only his face could surpass hers. As for his figure, it was inferior to hers in every aspect. She couldn't help but smile and say mockingly, "You little brat who's still wet behind the ears. You haven't come of age yet, right? What does it have to do with you whether I marry your master or not? Besides, just because of what you said, I'll marry him. Hurry up and call me master's wife. Otherwise, I'll expel you from my sect. Childish woman. Big breasts and no brains. It's better than you with no breasts. Little brat. My face is prettier than yours." Although the quarrel between the two girls wasn't vulgar, it was enough to make everyone break out in a cold sweat. Xia Qiuyue and Yi Qinghan trembled and hurriedly stopped the two. However, Emperor Yi and Xia Ziluo were still arguing. They didn't listen to them at all and continued to glare angrily. When the parrot saw that there was a quarrel, it immediately jumped out and said to Emperor Yi, "Hey, little master, do you need my help? Shut up. It's already chaotic enough. Do you want the world to become chaotic?" Yi Qinghan scolded unhappily. The parrot shook its head innocently. It was quite helpless. Quarreling was its specialty. It could even anger people to death without paying for it. "Lady Xia, don't joke about the marriage agreement. Besides, you and I don't know each other. I don't have any intention of marrying for the time being." Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He didn't want to be entangled and prepared to leave. "You look down on this princess. This princess is 18 years old and as beautiful as a flower. I belong to an immortal sect and have the bloodline of an emperor. My battle prowess is unparalleled. I'm worthy of any emperor-level man. Even I don't despise you. You don't have the right to speak." Xia Ziluo was incomparably domineering as she glared at Yi Qinghan. "My master has the right to despise any woman in the world. Including a condescending little woman like you. What's there to be arrogant about? As beautiful as a flower, belong to an immortal sect, and have unparalleled battle prowess? It's already good enough that you can beat me." Emperor Yi said disdainfully. "Ah! You stinking girl. You're infuriating me to death." Xia Ziluo was incomparably furious. Her peerlessly beautiful face changed a bit. She glared at the crowd and said, "All of you, scram. I'm going to teach this ungrateful little girl a lesson today. All right. Stop fooling around. Princess Xixin, you're an emperor of an immortal sect. It's not appropriate for you to bully a junior." Yi Qinghan was somewhat dissatisfied. He was very clear about the battle prowess of an emperor's daughter. Even if he faced Xia Ziluo, he might not be able to win. He might even lose miserably. How could he let Emperor Yi take the risk? "How dare you yell at me? Yi Qinghan, how dare you yell at me?" Xia Ziluo was even more furious. Purple qi surged all over her body, shaking the heavens and earth. Xia Qiuyue knew her younger sister best. She had been pampered and spoiled for a long time. Even she didn't want to anger her. Moreover, her battle prowess was indeed somewhat terrifying. Once she lost control, she could definitely overturn the heavens. Seeing that she was on the verge of exploding, she hurriedly pressed down on her shoulder and said in a low voice, "This might be a misunderstanding. You'd better ask Father first whether or not this is true. Even if this isn't true, now that I've been bullied, I should get my face back. If you're not going to help me, then go away. I'm going to teach this hateful little girl a lesson. You think I'm afraid of you? Even if you're ranked in the immortal sect, I can still kill you instantly." Emperor Yi and Xia Ziluo were completely at loggerheads. Neither of them was willing to back down. Their battle intent soared, and they couldn't control it at all. Nan Gongshen, Lin Aoqiong, and the others looked at each other. They knew Emperor Ye's battle prowess, but Zixian and Xia Ziluo's battle prowess couldn't be underestimated either. If they really fought, they wouldn't be able to control it at all. It would probably alarm a boundary emperor. They couldn't help but hurriedly stand in the middle to mediate. "Everyone, calm down. Your battle prowess is too terrifying. Don't make a scene. If there's any death or injury, it'll definitely be a loss for the human race," Nan Gongshen said in a low voice. Xia Ziluo looked down on Emperor Yi. After all, the difference between their realms was too great. Seeing that everyone was mediating the fight, she thought that they all wanted to help Emperor Yi. She was extremely angry. "Get out of the way. Today, I'll let her know what unparalleled battle prowess is. So that she won't be arrogant in the future." Emperor Yi waved his hand, and a divine guqin appeared in his hand. His eyes moved, and he was about to open them. Nan Gongshen's spine was drenched in cold sweat. Those eyes weren't something that a human could see. If they stared at his back, they would definitely pierce through his body. Xia Qiue didn't understand why Emperor Yi was so confident. After all, their realms were so low. Moreover, Nan Gongshen and the others all had the battle prowess of an imperial prince. Why were they trembling all over? They were clearly very nervous, as if they were afraid that Emperor Yi would suddenly attack. "All of you, get out of the way. Let them fight. One move will decide the victor. No one is allowed to attack a second time," Xia Qiue said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan frowned slightly. He looked at Emperor Yi and thought to himself, if my son goes all out, blocking a few moves shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. Moreover, she has a 5-star killing robe in her body. Even if she loses, her life won't be in danger. Thinking of this, Yi Qinghan said to Emperor Yi, "Be careful. After one move, don't attack again. We're all humans. We shouldn't waste our strength on infighting." Xia Qiue also looked at Xia Ziluo and said seriously, "Ziluo, she's a junior. Don't go too far. Otherwise, it won't be an honorable victory." Xia Ziluo curled her lips. She thought that it would be enough to casually suppress Emperor Yi. She didn't even think about hurting her. Yi Qinghan's fingertips trembled slightly. He was ready to attack at any time. After all, he had never truly fought with a crown prince or princess before. How strong they were was still unknown. Everyone dispersed, sighing and shaking their heads. They felt that Emperor Yi would lose without a doubt. Moreover, he wouldn't be able to resist at all. After all, with such a huge difference in cultivation level, even a crown prince would have to expend a lot of effort to fight against an ordinary immortal sect expert. In the end, he would still lose, not to mention Xia Ziluo, who was known as Zixian. "I think one move will be enough. This Emperor Yi is really bold. He actually dares to challenge Princess Zixian. What do you know? You haven't seen Emperor Yi in action before. Once she attacks, it will definitely shake the heavens and earth. All living beings will tremble." "That's right. We were in the same ancient space as Emperor Yi. We know her battle strength. Even if she loses, it won't be too bad. The geniuses who were in the same space as Emperor Yi spoke up for Emperor Yi. They didn't think that the loss would be too bad. Emperor Yi hugged the divine Guqin. Suddenly, a pair of golden wings spread out from his back and merged with the god-slaying eagle armor. His aura suppressed the heavens. Hundreds of people around him were sent flying. Chapter 222. Emperor Yi hugged the divine Guqin. A pair of golden wings suddenly spread out from his back, merging with the god-slaying eagle armor. His aura suppressed the heavens and sent hundreds of people flying. The giant golden wings covered time and space. Her jade-like fingers glowed with golden light. Seventh-tier claws and jade-like finger armor made her hands glow with endless golden light. It was enough to destroy immortal sect weapons. Purple chi poured down from the Milky Way, bathing Xia Ziluo in it. She was like an immortal descending. All the spiritual chi in the Milky Way was sucked away by her. Not a bit of spiritual chi could be felt within 100 miles. Xia Ziluo was looking down on everyone. Even Xia Qiue kept retreating, her expression ugly. Yi Qinghan shone with golden light and retreated 100 meters. He didn't want to retreat any further, fearing that something bad would happen to Emperor Yi. Xia Ziluo was indeed too powerful. She definitely didn't just have the bloodline of an empress. She probably had a special constitution, the immortal spirit body. Otherwise, she couldn't have sucked away all the spiritual chi within 100 miles. Boom! Emperor Yi opened his eyes and broke through the space in front of him. He used the space laws and arrived in a flash. Even a wisp of his light was unbearable. They all retreated. The great Tao of destruction descended, wanting to destroy 10,000 miles of space and time. The black light was almost tangible, causing Xia Qiue's pupils to shrink. Xia Ziluo was surrounded by purple qi. It kept spinning and actually blocked the light of destruction. But it was quickly consumed, causing her to turn pale with fright. Her jade-like fingers kept forming seals, and her body emitted runes. Her aura was vast and mighty, shaking thousands of miles and repelling the light of destruction. Buzz! The sound of the Guqin surged, and a murderous aura enveloped the mountains and rivers. It was as if a supreme killing god had come from the primordial world, wanting to destroy the endless universe. Even from 100 miles away, one could hear it clearly. Immediately, one's hair stood on end and one's Tao heart was in chaos. Whoosh, 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 millions of sound blades tore through the void and charged toward Xia Ziluo. They collided with the runes and shattered continuously. The runes enveloped Xia Ziluo and continued to extend toward Renhuangyi. They were like imperial weapons that could shatter all mortal weapons. This is the divine martial formation pattern. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Xia Ziluo was only a mid-tier immortal sect. How could she control the divine martial formation pattern? As expected of Zixian's empress. Is she going to become the first empress of all time? Of destruction. He's definitely not inferior to the crown prince. Everyone gasped. They were stunned by Xia Ziluo's combat strength. They knew that Xia Ziluo was very strong, but they didn't expect her to be so strong. Emperor Ye's sound blade crumbled inch by inch as it smashed into the cymbals, producing a deafening rumbling sound. Even the great Tao of the heavens was rumbling. All method ceased to exist as the source was swept away. The light of destruction was like a drill, colliding with the runes and continuously drilling inside. The experts in the surroundings were bleeding from their 7 apertures, and they no longer dared to resist. Yi Qinghan went all out, shielded his ears, and retreated 200 meters away. He narrowed his eyes and observed the battlefield. Only then did Xia Qiue understand that it was normal for Nangong Shen and the others to be worried. With Emperor Ye's battle prowess, an ordinary immortal gate would have been pierced through long ago. Buzz buzz buzz, strands of Guqin music transformed into divine weapons that shattered the shackles. The Guqin rumbled, causing strange phenomena to appear in the heavens. Azure dragons coiled in the sky and colorful phoenixes descended to protect Emperor Yi. He reached out his hand and glared at Xia Ziluo. Whoosh! With a flap of his wings, Emperor Yi was about to attack. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. The void was distorted, and the heavens trembled. The purple light pouring down from the 9 heavens was disrupted. Without the great Tao's law, the power of the symbols was greatly reduced. The Guqin blocked the source of all methods. Humph! Little girl, you're quite capable. But if you want to defeat me with this kind of battle prowess, you're gravely mistaken. Today, I'll show you what true strength is. Xia Ziluo's slender arms shattered the air and grabbed at the void. 2 huge spiritual energy dragons formed in the sky with her as the center. They spun continuously, forming a yin-yang diagram formed by spiritual energy. The pressure shook the mountains and rivers. Even Lin Aoqiong and the others of the same level felt the pressure. Ziluo! Stop! Xia Qiyue was shocked. She didn't expect that a verbal battle would cause her to go all out. A battle to the death. Do you think I'm afraid of you? This was the first time Emperor Yi was so powerful. He formed a seal with his palms, and divine light shot out from his body. The golden body turned into a huge divine Guqin, and tens of thousands of small divine Gyukins radiated out. The 9 strings automatically pulled back as if they were going to shoot out a divine arrow that could shatter the heavens and intimidate everyone. At this point, even the emperor-level existences recognized Emperor Ye's physique. They couldn't help but be shocked. They sucked in a breath of cold air and retreated one after another. My son, stop. Yi Qinghan frowned. His figure flashed and blocked Emperor Ye's path. Emperor Yi closed his eyes, afraid that he would hurt Yi Qinghan. The destructive aura dispersed, but the divine Guqin was even fiercer. Xia Qiyue didn't dare to let the 2 of them continue fighting. Otherwise, someone would definitely die. She rushed in front of Xia Ziluo and coldly looked at her. She said in a deep voice, "Nonsense. Do you think we're fighting against 10,000 races? My son, disperse your power. You're not allowed to fight." Yi Qinghan's eyes shot out willpower to suppress Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi didn't want to go against his will. He dispersed his aura without hesitation, and the divine Guqin dissipated, revealing a pale face. She was exhausted. Her cultivation realm was too low, so it wasn't that easy for her to transform into a divine Guqin. Humph, since you're afraid I'll hurt you, then let's fight using theory. Xia Ziluo was unwilling. She had the bloodline of an empress and the purple light immortal spiritual body. She could control spiritual qi within 100 li, yet she couldn't immediately defeat Emperor Yi. This made her a bit angry. Bring it on. I'm not afraid of you. Emperor Yi was even more unwilling to admit defeat. Being provoked by Xia Ziluo like this, he seemed to have lost his divine might. My yin-yang unification can break all laws and heavenly laws. My golden body divine Guqin can turn the sound of the Guqin into a heavenly arrow that can directly pierce through your body. What a joke. I have the purple light immortal spiritual body and can borrow the chaotic purple qi to control spiritual qi within 1,000 li and suppress the heavens. No matter how great your battle prowess is, how can you fight without the support of true essence? You're the one who's a joke. I have the zither immortal crimson demon body and the physique of a barbaric human emperor. What shackles can't I tear apart? With your strength and our cultivation realms, it won't be a problem for me to kill you in an instant. The 2 women opposed each other with equal harshness. They were definitely the 2 most powerful women in the boundless universe, dragons and phoenixes among women. They were existences that could kill everything in an instant. Neither of them was willing to back down. Their words made everyone blush with shame and the emperor's son collapse. Emperor Yi and Xia Ziluo were both angry, and it looked like they were about to lose control again. Even someone as cold and taciturn as Dugu Badian couldn't stand it any longer. He advised, since you want to fight, why don't we change the method? Find the royal family of 10,000 races or a top-level transformation king-level expert and see who wins faster. That's the best way. Cough, cough, you're both heroes among women. Why don't we all take a step back and shake hands and make peace? Xiao Yuni smiled bitterly. Both women were monsters, and he didn't dare offend either of them. Humph, childish woman. I'm not interested in talking to her. Emperor Yi snorted and walked behind Yi Qinghan, unwilling to say anything more. Xia Ziluo was burning with anger, but she was an emperor's daughter after all. She quickly calmed down and said disdainfully, "You look like a door plank. You haven't even grown out your baby teeth yet, have you? Bickering with you will really damage my status as an emperor's daughter." Emperor Ye's mouth twitched. It wasn't his fault that his chest was small. It had actually become an excuse for others to attack him. He pouted and wanted to retort, but he didn't know how to. You're big, your whole family is big, okay? The young master is an emperor, so he can't be bothered to bicker with you. Don't push your luck. The parrot's sudden words almost angered Xia Qiue. An ominous glint flashed, and it was as if a sharp sword had pierced through the heavens. It was so frightened that it once again hid behind Yi Qinghan and looked smugly at Emperor Yi. Pfft! Emperor Yi laughed heartily for the first time. Fortunately, he was hiding behind Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, he would have charmed the hearts of all the heroes in the sky. The parrot, this wretched bird, knew to help her at the crucial moment and didn't bicker with her. It was still worthy of praise. She reprimanded, "At least you know your place." Of course, when did this divine bird side with outsiders? The parrot smiled smugly. Yi Qinghan was speechless. Every time the parrot came out, it would mess things up. Sigh, when the younger generation caused trouble, he had to clean up after them. Brother Xia, don't take it to heart. This wretched bird has such a temper and speaks without thinking. I'll teach it a lesson later. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Humph. This wretched bird indeed needs to be taught a lesson. Don't give me a chance, or I'll roast it and eat it. Xia Ziluo was furious. She wanted nothing more than to drag the parrot out and give it a good beating. The parrot trembled, and didn't dare to speak again. A ray of sword light illuminated the heavens, breaking the awkwardness outside Emperor Abyss City. Everyone suddenly turned around and looked into the distance. They saw a ray of sword light shoot out from the hunter's territory, instantly killing its way out of the imperial region and charging into the endless universe. Wherever it passed, the void would shatter. It was as if an emperor's sword had slashed out, and its momentum was like a rainbow. Gu Qingyu's solitary sword Dao. Nangong Shen, Lin Aoqiong, and the others were stunned. Then, they were shocked. Gu Qingyu's previous battle prowess was at most a bit stronger than a region's battle king. This sword was already comparable to the battle prowess of an emperor's son. It was even fiercer and colder. Boom! In Yi Qinghan's residence, a huge palace was actually shattered. More than 10 figures shot out from inside, all of their auras soaring into the sky. They were all undergoing qualitative changes. Xia Qiue couldn't help but turn to look into the distance. So many powerful experts had appeared at the same time, and all of them were not inferior to the direct disciples of super factions. 4 or 5 of them were actually comparable to the chief disciples of super factions. Even if they weren't emperor's sons, they weren't inferior to them. Li Jiu's improvement speed was the fastest. Originally, he had missed the best time to cultivate because of his old age. Now, his physique and bloodline had been changed by the bloody corpse Lingji, becoming incomparably terrifying. His extraordinary willpower allowed him to surpass others, almost catching up to Gu Qingyu and Muyo Tianchen. His body actually produced a trace of emperor's might. Although it was faint, it was very obvious. Huang Xiaohu's improvement wasn't bad either. He was far in the lead. In the younger generation, he was only inferior to Li Jiao and Stan Wuxia, who had the emperor's physique. Shi Gu and Feng Wuxia had undergone qualitative changes. The invincible aura these years had benefited them greatly. Otherwise, the bloody corpse Lingji alone wouldn't have allowed them to reach the level of a super-faction's chief disciples. Nangong Qingyue's immortal sect robes fluttered gracefully as she followed behind Muyo Tianchen. Her battle prowess was no longer inferior to the others, and her face was full of pride. Nangong Xiaobei was as handsome as jade. He followed everyone outside Emperor Abyss City and arrived behind Yi Qinghan. Nangong Shen was shocked speechless. These people's battle prowess wasn't like this a few days ago. What kind of supreme treasure did they eat? They actually reached this step today. Xia Qiyu looked at this group of people. She was also frightened by this combination. An existence like Gu Qingyu was completely qualified to be her follower. He had 2 or 3 existences with similar battle prowess. What was even more strange was that there was actually a little fellow who was immortal. Chapter 223. Taiwa rode on Li Jiucheng's neck and hugged his head with both hands. His innocent eyes were bright. Little Li had already grown up into a big boy. He had entered the Tao's sovereign realm at the age of 10 and had a strong will to cultivate the great Tao. Seeing the group improve so quickly, Yi Qinghan was very satisfied. The Supreme Saint medicine was indeed extraordinary. Are you okay? Gu Qingyu, Muyu Tianchen, and the others surrounded Xia Qiyu and the others. It's fine. It's just a misunderstanding. Don't worry. Yi Qinghan explained repeatedly, afraid that the situation would get worse. The tense atmosphere dissipated. Other than Xia Ziluo and Emperor Yi Qinghan and Xia Qiyu didn't have any hostility. Everyone thought that this was a farce between little girls and didn't take it to heart. Just as the elites were gathering, Guichenzi crossed mountains and rivers from the Forbidden Grounds, continuously using the spatial laws to appear in the imperial region. When he passed by Emperor Abyss City, he discovered this group of juniors who were full of vitality. His eyes flashed with killing intent. If I can devour the vitality of these juniors, I might borrow another 1,000 years from the heavens. My peak strength will appear again. Guichenzi muttered as he looked at the people in front of Imperial Abyss City. Obviously, Yi Qinghan and the others couldn't discover an existence like Guichenzi at all. They couldn't sense the current danger. Yi Qinghan and the others couldn't sense it, but it didn't mean that existences like Emperor Shang couldn't. Unfortunately, they were a bit too late. Boom! Guichenzi made his move. He directly broke through time and space and appeared in Imperial Abyss City. A huge hand that covered the sky grabbed at Xia Qiyu, Yi Qinghan, and the others. It was as if time and space were frozen. Everyone was powerless to resist and was instantly terrified. Ah! Xia Qiyu roared angrily. Her cold sword split the sky, wanting to break free. Unfortunately, the difference in cultivation level was too great. She couldn't launch an attack even if she joined forces with Nangong Shen and the others. Children, become the vitality of this emperor. I will lead you to become a supreme existence and let you witness the power of the Tao. A hoarse and sharp voice filled Imperial Abyss City. He wasn't afraid of exposing his identity at all. He was prepared to capture these young princes and princesses and leave. Even if the other sub-emperors noticed, they couldn't do anything to him. How dare you, thief! Di Shang and the others were enraged. More than 10 boundary emperors attacked at the same time, cutting off the space in Emperor Abyss City to prevent Guichenzi from bringing these elites with him. Ha ha ha, follow me. The space that Gui Chenzi tore apart seemed to grab everyone's hearts. Yi Qinghan could not resist at all. He raised his hand and was about to take away everyone's vitality. Boom! As soon as the aura of death touched Emperor Yi, Si Wuxia, and Tai Wa's bodies, the 5-star killing robes radiant mountains and rivers, and the terrifying array inside killed Gui Chenzi instead. Emperor Formation. Di Shang had actually set up an emperor-level array within his robe. Although it was only at the quasi-emperor level, it would not be a problem for him to block Gui Chenzi for a single step. Gui Chenzi was shocked. He did not expect the monarch formation to counterattack. He hurriedly let go and shattered the formation. Tai Wa's eyes flashed as he glared at Gui Chenzi, but he did not explode. Defend. Xia Qiue was worthy of being an emperor. Moreover, she had lived for a long time and was extremely calm. She instantly erupted with her strongest battle strength. Even if she was not Gui Chenzi's opponent, she could delay him for a moment and allow the elders to rush over. Boom! Thousands of people attacked at the same time, shattering the void in front of them, hoping to delay Gui Chenzi for a breath of time. At this moment, Di Shang and the others appeared in front of everyone. Killing intent shot out as they stared at Gui Chenzi. Gui Chenzi! You traitor, how dare you appear in the central territory of the human race? Di Shang was extremely angry as he questioned coldly. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Attack together. I don't believe he still has the battle strength of a quasi-emperor. The emperors were furious and wanted to attack. Kakik, you bunch of juniors. I'm only a small step away from attaining my Tao. Of course, I'm not willing to die. Get out of the way and let me devour the life essence of these juniors. If I attain my Tao, the human race will definitely be glorious. Gui Chenzi's laughter was extremely mournful. His eyes released a sinister light, and he was not afraid of them at all. You traitor, you won't even let go of your own disciple. You stole his quasi-emperor body and betrayed the human race. You will be despised by all. Even if you attain your Tao, you will not think for the human race. The heavens will not let you attain your Tao. Just give up. Di Shang angrily scolded as his battle strength erupted. He was extremely vigilant. Gui Chenzi was a quasi-emperor when he was alive. He was only half a step away from becoming a true emperor. His battle strength was unparalleled. Even if he faced many quasi-emperors, he was not afraid. Di Shang and the others did not want to fight him in Emperor Abyss City. Otherwise, the imperial region would be plunged into misery and suffering. Tai Wa angrily glared at Gui Chenzi. He was extremely disgusted by the aura of the dead spirits. However, in his current state, he could only deal with the souls of the dead spirits. Once they had a body, he would not be able to do anything. What do you know? For the glory of the human race, there is nothing that cannot be sacrificed. My disciple is willing to become one with me. I will bring his body to attaining my Tao and let his body be eternal in this world. His body will lead the human race to glory. Gui Chenzi was furious, as if others could not understand his lofty ideals. You are truly disgusting, daring to say anything. These years, in order to prolong your life, you have slaughtered countless humans. Regardless of whether you can attain your Tao or not, you are still a sinner of the human race. Countless vengeful spirits will have an explanation. Xia Chintian angrily glared at Gui Chenzi. He was already on the verge of exploding. How can juniors like you understand the ambitions of a great swan? What I want to do now is to bring these juniors and let them become one with me, helping me reach the peak of battle strength. Then, I will borrow the great emperor battle physique to transcend the supreme emperor tribulation and achieve supreme glory. If you don't want more people to die, then scram. Gui Chenzi threatened in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan and the others felt their hair stand on end. They angrily glared at Gui Chenzi. Seeing that the death aura around him caused all life within a radius of 100 miles to disappear, they knew that this damn thing should have died long ago but was forcefully staying in the human world through special means. It must be the dead spirits of the forbidden area. Their hearts felt even heavier. Any one of them that jumped out of the forbidden area was a supreme existence. No wonder the human race had always been weak. Gulp. 3 stairs appeared in front of Emperor Abyss City. The first row was for powerful boundary emperors like Di Shang. The second row was for powerful young imperial princes like Yi Qinghan. The third row was for thousands of powerful young experts. At this moment, all of them were furious. They only hated that their cultivation was too low and could not kill the dead spirits on the spot. There was no other way. The dead spirits were too strong. The human race could only passively defend. Everyone was sullen. Guichenzi, you better leave the imperial domain immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for activating the 9 emperors killing formation and killing you. Di Shang warned coldly. The 9 emperors killing formation was the strongest killing formation of the ancient killing god. It was a true great emperor killing formation. It could kill any boundary emperor. Even perfection boundary experts could not resist. However, the price of activating the killing formation was also terrifying. It needed to consume a large amount of the boundary emperor's life force. Di Shang was obviously unwilling to consume a large amount of life force for a dead spirit. The human race could not afford it either. Is that so? What if I insist on the Emperor Corpse and these juniors? Guichenzi was unwilling to retreat. Since he had come, he must succeed. Then let's fight to the death. These juniors are the hope of the human race. You can't have them. Di Shang coldly rejected. Guichenzi's lips curled up. Death energy spread out. All the trees within 100 miles withered and birds died. Even the laws of time were frozen. From this, one could see how powerful he was. His eyes swept over Yi Qinghan and the others as if he could see through their origins. Guichenzi was even more unwilling to let go. Especially when he saw Yi Qinghan's metal origin Dao body and see Wuxia's golden bloodline, he was overjoyed. Kakik, the heavens have not forsaken me. Guichenzi laughed sinisterly. He pointed at Yi Qinghan and Si Wuxia and said domineeringly, as long as you give me the metal origin Dao body in golden bloodline, I will immediately retreat. Moreover, 100 years later, I will definitely appear as a great emperor and help the human race walk the path of recovery. Everyone's faces darkened. They did not expect Guichenzi to be so difficult to deal with. If it was any other dead spirit that was threatened, they would have retreated long ago. However, he was not afraid at all. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He was incomparably furious. His 7 feet heavy berserk activated his origin Dao body. His blood energy burned. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and kill Guichenzi. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Guichenzi, it seems like you want to completely break off relations with the human race. Then, just wait for the 9 emperors killing formation to open. Emperor Killer erupted. His emperor's aura was vast and mighty. A true great emperor's aura rose from the ancient god of massacre's territory and suppressed the heavens. Guichenzi was shocked. He did not expect Emperor Killer to be so decisive. He immediately berated, Emperor Killer, I only want 2 lives in exchange for the lives of countless people in the imperial region. You won't even trade. Do you think I will let you surround me with the 9 emperors killing formation? When I was researching the 9 emperors killing formation, you were not even born yet. I won't trade. The human race will never compromise with a traitor. Even if we die 1,000,000 miles away, we will never regret it. Kill. We will never compromise with a traitor. Zhang Yunshao and the others fighting spirit sword. Their blood energy burned, and they wanted to fight to the death. Kakik. What if I join in? Can the human race stop me? An ethereal voice enveloped the imperial region. The death chi became even thicker. The entire imperial region was filled with death chi. Yi Qinghan and the others' hair stood on end. They looked into the void in shock, but they could not find the other party's existence at all. Emperor Killer and the others' expressions became even more unsightly. Their eyes pierced through the void and found a terrifying existence standing outside the imperial region. The death chi was so thick that it was tangible. Its history was even longer than Guichenzi's. Lightning. It's him. Lightning was known for his speed. Not many people remembered his real name, but everyone knew his nickname, Lightning. I won't enter the imperial region. Your 9 emperors killing formation can't do anything to me. I advise you humans to be tactful. Guichenzi wants the 2 juniors, but I want the great emperor corpse. Lightning's eyes pierced through the void, and his voice spread to Emperor Abyss City. The undead spirits were strong. They completely treated the human race as prey. They could burn, kill, and plunder with a single thought. Aggrieved. Yi Qinghan was really aggrieved. But their strength was too weak. They could not compete with these sub-emperors at all. You have no room to refute. Choose the great emperor corpse and the lives of the 2 juniors, or choose all the living beings in the imperial region. Choose one. There is no third choice. Lightning said coldly. Ha ha ha, Lightning, if you and I cooperate, we will definitely succeed. I don't believe that these stubborn bastards will still dare to be tough. Guichenzi took a step back. He looked at Yi Qinghan and Si Wuxia cruelly as if he was looking at food. Chapter 224. The 2 terrifying undead spirits working together could suppress many boundary emperors. After all, the countless living beings in the sovereign region were their greatest weakness. Once a battle broke out, there would definitely be countless casualties. The human race had always been on the defensive. Unless a great emperor appeared, they could counterattack and beat the undead spirits until they couldn't make a comeback in a short period of time. Once the great emperor's lifespan arrived, most of them would kill their way into the forbidden land and wantonly slaughter them. They would kill until they couldn't make a comeback for thousands of years, giving the human race the greatest amount of time. Unfortunately, it had been 5,000 years, and the human race still hadn't produced a great emperor. The undead spirits were strong and treated humans as food. The human race was already on the verge of becoming slaves. They had become creatures reared by the 10,000 races and were at the mercy of others. The boundary emperors of the 10,000 races dared to break through the space of the ancient massacre god's territory and kill the elites. If the human race had a great emperor, no one would dare to do so. Now, the 2 undead spirits working together dared to snatch the great emperor's corpse and human elites. It could be seen how strong the other party was. Yi Qinghan broke out in cold sweat and flames burned in his eyes. Death, he had already died once. Even if he self-destructed again, he wouldn't let Guichenzi succeed. I will give you 15 minutes to consider whether you want the sovereign region's trillions of living beings or the great emperor's corpse and 2 juniors. Lightning coldly stood outside the sovereign region. The emperor's robe rippled and death chi erupted, suppressing the heavens into silence. The experts of the 10,000 races descended and watched coldly as the human race was humiliated. They also wanted a share of the pie. The aura of death enveloped Yi Qinghan and Si Wuxia. At this moment, there was no solution. The origin of metal was tempting even to great emperors. It was the best treasure to block death chi. The golden bloodline was the mortal enemy of the undead spirits. The undead spirits would never let it go. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan, hoping that he would create another terrifying item to intimidate these damn things. Are there any more treasures? Nangongshen looked at Yi Qinghan with anticipation, hoping for a miracle. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Apart from the great emperor, who else could intimidate these existences? Even if Taiwa had the great emperor Dao fruit, he couldn't make a move for now. He could only deal with the souls of the undead spirits. Emperor Yi held on to Yi Qinghan's large hand, his entire body trembling, unwilling to let go. See Wuxia's blonde hair flew behind him. His bloodline was fully activated as he glared at Guichenzi. Unfortunately, his cultivation level was too low. Even if he was their natural enemy, he could not hurt them at all. Golden bloodline, origin Dao body, you two juniors can choose for yourselves. As quasi-emperors, they obviously can't bring themselves to compromise. Guichenzi had a sinister smile on his face. His smile was chilling. Qinghan, Wuxia, back off. No one in the human race is afraid of death. Di Shang roared, unwilling to back off. I won't regret it even if I die. Hunter and the ancient massacre god rushed out of their territory, rushing toward Emperor Abyss City. Even though they knew that they would die, they were still unwilling to cower. Ha ha ha. A bunch of ignorant humans. Other than courting death, what else could he do? If you don't know how to make a choice, how can you establish yourself in the endless universe? Lightning sneered, looking down on all living beings. Does letting you kill me mean I know how to make a choice? What do you think the human race is? Food? Do you think I'll let you do whatever you want? Di Shang shouted angrily. That's right. Even if billions of living beings are sacrificed today, you won't be able to escape death. The 9 Thearchs killing formation can kill Guichenzi. Do you think we can't kill you with more than 10 quasi-emperors? Zhang Yunxiao angrily rebuked Lightning. If it weren't for the fact that Lightning was too fast and couldn't be killed, he would have already chased after it and fought it. Ha ha ha, we can talk about it if you can catch me. If you provoke me, I will definitely destroy countless vital planets. I won't feel any heartache no matter how many of these ants die. I don't know if you feel any heartache or not. Lightning threatened coldly. You. The quasi-emperors were seething with anger, but they couldn't do anything to Lightning. I also want a share of the profits. One of you wants the Arch Corpse, the other wants the Golden Bloodline and the Metal Origin Dao body. I want the Hanlong Star Field. I will give you 1 year to move the human race out of here. Otherwise, I will let my children attack and slaughter without mercy, leaving no one alive. The great demonic beasts of the 10,000 races opened their mouths wide, taking advantage of the situation to rob a huge star field. No one knew what this demonic race quasi-emperor had evolved from or how powerful its true form was. Even Di Shang did not know. All he knew was that this demonic race quasi-emperor had been a quasi-emperor for more than 4,000 years, even longer than him. Dream on. Every inch of the human race's territory is stained with the blood of our ancestors. We will not budge an inch. Ba Tsangtian's tyrannical blood surged, shattering the void. Then you must be prepared to die. The human race has no Arch. Let's see if you can withstand the combined forces of the Forbidden Land and the 10,000 races. The great demonic beast sneered. It was not in a hurry at all. The human race had no choice but to compromise. The previous emperor once said that an inch of land, an inch of blood, 1,000,000 soldiers of the human race. The human race has been able to survive until now because of unity. Even if you join forces, the human race will only die standing, not kneel to live. Take out the God-killing order. Command the heavens and unite the endless universe. Di Shang roared, his emperor aura erupting. He had decided to fight to the death. Take out the god of war order and request the war division to revive. Zhang Yinxiao's roar shook the mountains and rivers. A terrifying battle intent erupted from the Zhan family's Dao realm cultivators, rushing out of the clouds and facing Emperor Abyss City from afar. Heavenly Dragon Army, heed my command. Seal the space of the sovereign domain. We will not retreat even if we die. Xia Qintian's emperor aura erupted, commanding the heavenly dragon's sacred dynasty. No one wanted to retreat, and no one would retreat. Supreme Heavenly Tao, please command the laws of time to burn, let the endless universe move forward faster, and take away all filth. The supreme existence of the Tianji sect had white hair. He reached out his palms to the sky, using his last vitality to display the glory of the Tianji sect. Activate the 9 Thearchs killing formation. Let's leave these two trash in the human race today. To comfort the people, their deaths must be accompanied by the boundary emperors. Are you crazy? For the Arch Corps and 2 juniors, you want to fight to the death with the Forbidden Land and the 10,000 races? Are you not waiting for the birth of the Arch of the human race? Lightning stepped into the sovereign domain and warned in a deep voice. Humph. Let's see how strong the human race is. The 10,000 races will not only have one great demonic beast boundary emperor. Whoosh! The void was shrouded in darkness. Another 4 powerful great demonic beast boundary emperors emerged from the 10,000 races. Their battle strength was terrifying, and their will could control the laws of the great Tao. TSK, 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 do you think the Divine Martial Emperor is still in the human world? If he was, we would not dare to come to the human race's territory in the endless universe. Unfortunately, he has been Tao assimilated for more than 5,000 years. If it were not for the fact that we do not have a body, we would have killed our way into the endless universe. Since you want to fight today, we can seize a few great demonic beast boundary emperors' bodies. Boom, the space of the sovereign domain was torn apart, and more than 10 horrifying dead spirits appeared. Death chi filled the air, and the entire sovereign domain became a living hell. Some of the weaker creatures had their vitality sucked away and died on the spot. The Divine Martial Emperor was the author of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex. He was extremely powerful and was called the Divine Martial by the 10,000 races. The 10,000 races were in awe of him, and no one dared to blaspheme him. He had protected the human race for 20,000 years, and was the longest living existence of the human race. Di Shang and the others turned pale. This was the trend of the 2 great forces forcing the human race. However, if they did not fight today, the 10,000 races and the dead spirits would take a mile after taking an inch. In the future, the human race would lose all freedom. Buzz! The buried emperor chant suddenly roared, and a murderous aura shrouded the mountains and rivers. The melody was vast and mighty, and the void was filled with songs and iron horses. It was as if the barbaric era had arrived, and the great emperor had personally appeared, shattering a domain with a single hand. Corpses fell one after another, and the endless universe was dyed red. The surging melody made everyone's blood boil, and the morale of the human race soared. The buried emperor chant. Didn't it disappear for countless years? This little girl actually has the physique of a human sovereign. Guichenzi's eyes were like torches as he stared at Emperor Yi. Boom, boom, boom. Hum, 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 the sound of the guqin became more and more frantic, and the murderous aura was so dense that it was tangible. The Tao hearts of the heroes were excited as if they could see the arrival of the great emperor of the human race. The aura made the 10,000 races and the dead spirits' hair stand on end. They stared at Emperor Yi with murderous intent. Armor. Combine. Emperor Yi fought with all his might. Blood splattered from his 10 fingers as he combined with the god-slaying eagle. His slender fingers shone with golden light, and the huge wings on his back spread out, shaking the space and time. You want to touch my master? You are not worthy. Emperor Yi opened his eyes, and the great Tao of destruction pierced through the galaxy. He looked at the dead spirit coldly, and the dead spirit was so scared that he gasped, feeling that his soul could be killed by the light of destruction. Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fists. He did not expect that Emperor Yi would stand out to protect him today. He was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and he wanted to crush the heavens. I, Si Wuxia, have the golden bloodline. How can I beg for my life with you filthy people? If you want to fight, let's fight. There are no cowards in the crazy sect. Si Wuxia's golden eyes shone with a soul-stirring light. He looked coldly at the soul of the dead spirit and sneered. A dead spirit without a Tao body dares to come out of the forbidden land. Do you really think that there is no one in the human race? Although I am young, the golden bloodline is real. After I self-destruct, the power of the bloodline is enough to kill a dead spirit. Let's see which one of you is lucky enough to be targeted by me. Boom! The gold origin Tao body was awakened. Golden light fluctuated and surged throughout his body. The divine martial emperor's codex crazily absorbed energy and spun in his sea of consciousness. He wanted to kill his way out and protect the human race. The divine martial emperor's codex was an imperial weapon. It was a secret technique that the divine martial emperor had personally refined. It was just that its power had not been revealed yet. Once it was activated, it could definitely protect the human race and slaughter them. Wisps of true imperial aura erupted from Yi Qinghan's body. The thousands of races and the dead spirits were so shocked that they could not speak for a long time. Even Di Shang's expression began to change. Nangong Shen and the others looked at each other and narrowed their eyes. They looked at Yi Qinghan and knew that there was indeed a treasure hidden in his body. It was very likely to be an imperial weapon. Otherwise, the imperial aura would not be so strong. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Even if the host dies today, I can guarantee that none of you will be able to escape from the imperial domain. The divine martial emperor's codex controlled Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness and borrowed Yi Qinghan's body to fly into the sky. It contained the imperial will and looked down on all living beings. Host. What was controlling Yi Qinghan? What was borrowing Yi Qinghan's body? Guichenzi looked into Yi Qinghan's eyes. His body trembled as if he was being stared at by the emperor. His legs turned to jelly and he kept retreating. Guiqing, the master predicted that the human race would face a calamity like you and wanted to reform you. He hoped that you would work for the human race. Unfortunately, you were still stubborn. If the master knew, he would regret not killing you back then. Yi Qinghan looked at Guichenzi indifferently and called out his real name. His voice was emotionless. You. Who are you? How do you know my real name? Guichenzi was terrified. This was the first time he felt like he was out of control. He did not dare to be presumptuous. Chapter 225. Guichenzi was terrified. He was so old that he couldn't even remember his own name, but the other party called out his name with such a strong emperor's aura. A name exploded in his mind, and that was the divine martial emperor. The dead spirit was also frightened. When a real emperor appeared, everyone had to step aside. Whoever dared to anger the emperor would be poked a hole in the sky. Cluck, 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 Guichenzi's teeth were chattering and his hands were trembling. He had no intention of resisting. 6,000 years ago. Master saw that you had fallen into the demonic path and thought that it was not easy for you to cultivate, so he gave you a drop of emperor's blood to reform you. He hoped that you would be loyal to the human race and protect the common people. Unfortunately, you disappointed him. Yi Qinghan's voice was low and mighty, hoarse and old, as if it contained the vicissitudes of countless years. It suppressed the heroes in the heavens and made them not dare to speak. Divine Martial Emperor. You are the Emperor's weapon of the Divine Martial Emperor. Guichenzi screamed and cried. Once the Emperor's weapon was out, it meant that the Emperor had personally come. Guichenzi was indebted to the Emperor and did not dare to blaspheme him. At this moment, even Di Shang and the others knelt down. Welcome, Divine Martial Emperor. Thousands of spirits were crying, quasi-emperors were crying, and the human race was sad and pitiful. It was all because there was no emperor. Yi Qinghan's golden light burst out, and even his hair turned golden. Crazy 7 Feet was almost squeezed out of shape and roared. "Greetings, great emperor. I am unfilial and have disappointed you. But I really want to become an emperor and fight for the human race like you. I want to shed my blood for the human race. Oh, great emperor, please kill me. I can't control my heart. In order to become an emperor, I have gone crazy." The vicious and evil Guichenzi was now weak like an old man who could not move. He was a hero past his prime. Blood and tears flowed across the mountains and rivers. He knelt in the void and kept kowtowing. It was clear that his respect for the divine martial emperor could not be stopped even by death. The great monarch bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. He didn't want to kill too many people. No matter how tyrannical he was, he didn't want to exterminate the forbidden lands and the 10,000 races. The existence of all living things was the reason. If the 10,000 races were destroyed, the forbidden lands would be destroyed, and the human race would also perish. This was an eternal principle. The dead spirit shivered, standing there in a daze. Besides the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors in the desolate era, the human race only had 10 emperors in the other eras. Their emperor weapons were even rarer. Most of them had disappeared in the long river of history. No one had thought that they would appear today. "Great Emperor. Please save the human race. We've let our ancestors down. We can't even defend the territory of the human race." Xia Chintian wailed. He didn't seem like a quasi-emperor at all, nor did he seem like an emperor who had lived for thousands of years. 10,000 spirits wept. In these 5,000 years, it was unknown just how many creatures had died miserably. They couldn't find the path of reincarnation, and their souls were all taken away by the dead spirits of the forbidden lands. The human race had suffered far too much. It was indescribably painful. Sigh. A low sigh came from Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. It was full of vicissitudes and sorrow. It was not made by an emperor weapon, and it was different from the sound of an emperor weapon. This sound was unique and earth-shattering. Heaven and earth roared, and suddenly rain poured down from the sky, as if the sky was crying. Boom boom boom. Hua hua hua. In an instant, thunder rumbled, lightning tore through the darkness, and light shrouded the emperor domain, illuminating Yi Qinghan's face. Guichenzi seemed to have gone mad at this moment. He rushed directly to Yi Qinghan's feet and frantically slapped his old face. He couldn't control his tears at all. "Great Emperor. I know you're still alive. I know, you'll be immortal. Please forgive me, I really know I'm wrong. I won't be stubborn anymore." Woo woo. The sound of weeping and the lightning intertwined, illuminating everyone's face. The heroes of the human race were pleasantly surprised. Their tears intertwined with the rain and poured down continuously. The great demons of 10,000 races were so frightened by this sigh that they knelt on the ground. It's the divine martial emperor. This sigh is the great emperor's lament. Is he really still alive? No one would have thought that the divine martial emperor, who had reached Tao assimilation 5,000 years ago, would let out a lament. This was definitely the first time such a horrible thing had happened. Yi Qinghan slightly raised his hand and stroked Guichenzi's head as if he was looking at his own son. His eyes were full of vicissitudes of life. His deep eyes could make people lose themselves in them and disappear into the vast Milky Way. Guiqing, sigh. I'm really disappointed. The hoarse voice seemed to contain the will of the heavenly Tao, which made people's hair stand on end. It was indeed the voice of the divine martial emperor. How much bitterness was contained in this word. Pa. Guichenzi didn't want to resist at all. He knew that Yi Qinghan's body could be crushed with a pinch, but he didn't dare to move. He only knew how to slap his own face, and his eyes were full of regret. I'm not a human. I'm really not a human. Great Emperor, You painstakingly gave me a drop of Emperor's blood to help me reach Tao assimilation, and let me protect the human race. But I was obsessed and kept hurting the human race. Please give me the death penalty. Why do you have to do this? If you can't see through the heavenly Tao, so what if you kill each other? No one can achieve immortality. The Divine Martial Emperor's mind was attached to the Divine Martial Emperor's code. He sighed helplessly and said, when you reach this step, you will find that you are wrong. This is why the great emperor of the 10,000 races didn't kill the human race, and why the great emperor of the human race didn't destroy the forbidden area. You can all go. Find your Tao and achieve immortality. This time, I've used up the last bit of my mind. If you still want to fight, do as you please. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The 10,000 Tao turn into Yin and Yang. Yin and Yang are reincarnation. Even if you become a supreme, you will still return. The Divine Martial Emperor controlled Yi Qinghan's body and clawed at the void. The 10,000 great beasts and the dead spirits couldn't control their own bodies, and they couldn't even control their own wills. They were directly sealed in the forbidden area. The Emperor's light shot up into the sky and sealed the forbidden area. There are still 1,000 years left. The Divine Martial Emperor used up his last bit of mind power to suppress dozens of powerful dead souls. Even lightning couldn't escape and was suppressed in an instant. The power of a great emperor was enough to defy the natural order. The Divine Martial Emperor's code dimmed and fell into a deep sleep in Yi Qinghan's mind. Yi Qinghan floated in the void, and the world was dead silent. Great Emperor! Di Shang and the others cried out in grief. Was this the last time the Divine Martial Emperor performed a miracle? Unfortunately, the Divine Martial Emperor didn't respond anymore. Yi Qinghan had fallen into a deep sleep. What do you mean by 1,000 years? Zhang Yunxiao's tears ran down his cheeks as he recalled the great emperor's last words. Do the human race have 1,000 years? Or can the seal only last for 1,000 years? At this moment, the boundary emperors couldn't understand what the great emperor's last words meant. The supreme existence of the Tianji sect threw out a copper coin, trying to figure out what the great emperor's last words meant. However, as soon as the coin was thrown out, it was pierced by a bolt of lightning. It doesn't matter what it means. In 1,000 years, the human race will do its best to create a great emperor. Di Shang said in a low voice. Everyone was silent. 1,000 years to create a great emperor. It was easy to say, but difficult to do. Let's discuss it again and see if we can come up with a solution. 1,000 years is too short. By then, we will have reached the end of our lifespan. We will have no battle power left. How can we face the calamity? Everyone was sad. This was something they had to face. Life was short. Some people could live for dozens of years, and some powerful existences could live for 1,000 years. However, it didn't mean that they couldn't die. Di Shang could at most live for 2,000 or 3,000 years. The pressure of the sky made it hard for people to breathe. The rain was still roaring. Emperor Yi flapped his wings and took Yi Qinghan away. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. The boundary emperors watched Emperor Yi leave, but they couldn't stop him. Emperor Yi didn't trust the others. At this time, Yi Qinghan was unconscious. She would definitely choose to leave. You can all leave now. Zhang Yunxiao seemed to have aged 1,000 years. This feeling of helplessness made him feel older every time. It was too tiring. They carried the glory and future of the human race on their shoulders. A single mistake could lead to a huge mistake. Gu Qingyu looked at Muyo Tianchen and said sadly, Qinghan gave me a mission a few days ago. I have to leave for a while. He hasn't come back yet. Please take care of the evil sect. Don't worry. I am also a member of the evil sect. Muyo Tianchen nodded. After all, he came from the Shaolong region. These geniuses were all his family. He wouldn't allow others to bully them. Everyone retreated. Muyo Tianqian brought a group of juniors back to the main hall. Gu Qingyu soared into the sky and rushed into the depths of the wilderness. He was going to the eternal battlefield. Xia Qiuyue and Xia Ziluo kept staring at the direction where Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan disappeared. Their mouths were murmuring and their eyes were still red. Countless people couldn't see the great emperor in their lifetime. In this life, their wish came true. However, they didn't expect that they would hear the voice of the great emperor through Yi Qinghan. In the endless universe, Emperor Yi aimlessly rushed into the depths of the universe with Yi Qinghan. He found a planet with life. It wasn't big and there weren't many experts. With a flap of his wings, he rushed into the depths of the planet. Hua, the stars in the night sky were magnificent. All spirits were in a deep slumber. Renhuang Yi gently flapped his wings and descended into a city. He carried the sleeping Yi Qinghan on his back and walked towards a brightly lit tavern. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's soul was almost completely consumed by the divine martial imperial codex. If the great emperor said anything, Yi Qinghan might die completely. Perhaps it was because the great emperor couldn't bear to exhaust the last bit of Yi Qinghan's soul and chose to dissipate. Yi Qinghan's fingertips moved slightly. He was so tired that he didn't want to move. To support the control of the great emperor, it required more than just spiritual power and a strong physical body. "My son, where are we?" Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and soft. It was so soft that even Emperor Yi couldn't hear it clearly. "Master, I don't know either. It seems like we haven't left the imperial region. However, we have left that enormous planet." Emperor Yi quickly replied and asked gently, "Master, how do you feel?" "Very tired. Very sleepy." Yi Qinghan's vision turned pitch black. He couldn't even think as he fainted again. Emperor Yi carried Yi Qinghan into the inn. The inn on the small planet was still brightly lit. They didn't know that the human race was living on the brink of extinction, but they were still drinking and having fun. Seeing Emperor Yi carry Yi Qinghan in with his eyes closed, they couldn't help but be surprised. "Prepare a separate courtyard for me. Prepare hot water. Without my permission, anyone who dares to come near will die." Emperor Ye's divine senses swept across the inn and found a separate private room at the back. It was decorated very luxuriously. He directly walked over and didn't allow anyone to refute him. Chapter 226. Below the inn, there were still people drinking and making merry, accompanied by beautiful women. There were even dancers singing, swaying their hips, seducing people's souls. Sure enough, the women of Shang dynasty did not know the sorrow of losing their country. Emperor Yi was indifferent. He did not even look at them as he led Yi Qinghan to the back courtyard. "Wait, little girl, you're being unreasonable. This courtyard is reserved by the young master of the Azure Dragon Mansion. It's not for rent. You should go upstairs and stay in an ordinary room." A servant saw that Emperor Yi was young and had his eyes closed. He felt that he was easy to bully and did not give him any face. He directly blocked the door and reached out to grab Emperor Yi. "Scram! If you dare touch me, I'll kill you." Emperor Ye's brows twitched. He wanted to open his eyes and destroy the person in front of him. His cold aura suppressed the servant and made him kneel down. "Here's 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. It's enough to buy your entire courtyard. Go get some hot water and food. If you dare to be impudent again, I'll take your life." Emperor Ye's aura erupted. It was easy for him to suppress a servant. Hua, a large pile of low-grade spirit crystals poured out from the universe ring. These were the low-grade spirit crystals that Yi Qinghan did not want. The thrifty Emperor Yi collected them all and put them to good use. The servant had never seen so many spirit crystals in his life. His eyes shone as he took them all. He secretly hid half of them and gave the rest to the owner. Even if it was only 500 low-grade spirit crystals, the owner was so excited that he trembled. Go prepare hot water for the guest. Inform the kitchen to prepare the best food. Entertain the guest. The courtyard was very clean. Lotus flowers bloomed and the spiritual energy was overwhelming. The blankets in the room were changed every day, emitting a fragrance. Yi Qinghan was placed on the bed. Golden blood seeped out from the immortal robe. His metal origin body was filled with lacerations. Even the origin body could not heal. It was clear how terrifying the price of bearing the God Martial Emperor's codex and the appearance of the Divine Martial Emperor was. Emperor Yi undid the immortal sect's Taoist robe and caressed the shocking scars. His heart ached. The servant brought hot water and a bathtub. Emperor Yi wiped his wounds over and over again and cleaned his blood essence. Then, he changed Yi Qinghan's underwear and covered him with a quilt. Then, he filled the room with mid-grade spiritual crystals and formed a huge spiritual gathering array. Spiritual chi filled the room and flooded into the courtyard. Emperor Yi gently played a divine tune. The heavenly melody rushed up to the 9 heavens and reverberated throughout the city. Everyone listened quietly. Even the cultivators who were in seclusion didn't feel that this was a noise that disturbed their cultivation. Instead, they came out of seclusion to listen to the guqin music. As Yi Qinghan listened to the beautiful melody, he gradually relaxed and fell into a deep sleep. It was extremely quiet and there was no pressure at all. This lasted for an hour before Emperor Yi put away the divine guqin. The heavenly melody dissipated. Everyone was still unsatisfied and felt that it was a pity. There were even some cultivators who fell into an epiphany after listening to the guqin music and benefited greatly. The next day, they frantically investigated to find the source of the guqin music. Emperor Yi lay beside Yi Qinghan. He was in a semi-conscious state. Anyone who approached the courtyard would be alerted. The next day, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly. The first thing he saw was Emperor Ye's tired face. He was filled with grief. The person he wanted to protect was trying his best to protect him in the end. He gently raised his hand, which seemed to weigh 1,000 kilograms. He stroked Emperor Ye's hair and took a deep breath. He stared at the dome of the room and thought to himself, I don't know when I can stand tall and protect the person I want to protect. If I was as strong as the Emperor yesterday, those dead souls wouldn't have humiliated us like this. I need to be strong. All these so-called unjust things will vanish like smoke in thin air. The Shao Zhanqing of the past and the current imperial domain will not be trampled on by others. Dignity, glory. Emperor Yi was startled awake. Seeing that Yi Qinghan had woken up, he quickly asked, Master, how do you feel? Much better. It's been hard on you. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He was extremely tired. It's not hard. I'll take you out to eat something. Emperor Yi helped Yi Qinghan up and personally helped him put on the 3 stars killing robe. Yi Qinghan, whose face was as pale as paper, looked like a sickly young master. He no longer had the aura of an invincible battle king. The word kill was dull and lifeless. It was as if the killing robe needed a person's essence, energy, and spirit to support it. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi slowly walked to the front courtyard. It was already late in the morning, and the streets were bustling with people. They were carefree. Occasionally, a large group of adventurers would enter the inn. They glanced at Yi Qinghan but did not take him to heart. Emperor Yi had his eyes closed the whole time. He was like a servant girl supporting Yi Qinghan's hand. His seductive aura made people unable to take their eyes off him. Fortunately, no one provoked Emperor Yi at this time. Otherwise, they would definitely be dealt a devastating blow. Io. My ancestor. What's going on? I've been by your side for so many years, but nothing good has happened. Luckily, I fainted from fright yesterday. Otherwise, it would definitely affect my Tao heart. The parrot's body was golden. It spread its wings and shook its body like a big rooster. It held its head high and puffed out its chest. It did not look frightened at all. The corners of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's lips curled up. The parrot was probably the only one who had the nerve to say that after being scared unconscious. "Why didn't I scare you to death?" Emperor Yi snorted and said disdainfully. "What does a little kid like you know? What did I see yesterday? That was a great emperor. Oh my God, I believe that even my ancestors have never seen such an existence." The parrot did not feel embarrassed at all. It was an honor to be scared to death by a great emperor, not to mention that it had only fainted from fright. Ha ha ha. This little parrot is so cute. It actually said that it had seen a great emperor. Ha ha ha, how much is this parrot worth? Is it for sale? There were at least a dozen tables of guests eating in the main hall of the inn. Most of them were at the Fate Palace realm. There were also a few Tao masters. They were all amused by the parrot. Get lost. A bunch of ignorant kids. If you dare to say that you want to buy this divine bird again, I'll burn all your feathers. The parrot was angry. Why did no one care about its prestige? Why did they say that it was cute? Instead of getting angry, the crowd laughed. They did not take it seriously at all. They all asked Yi Qinghan to name the price. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi sat at a table by the window. They looked out at the bustling mortal world. The passers-by could live a carefree life without wars. They sighed. Although these people were ignorant, they were happy. I heard that the Thousand Leaves Galaxy is going to select elites. The governor has come out personally. Now, all the major planets are looking for elites to train. If the governor takes a fancy to them, they might be sent to the imperial domain. TSK. That's going to skyrocket. I heard about it too. The Thousand Leaves Galaxy governor is hosting it personally. The Star Lords of the major planets are fighting over a spot. It seems to have something to do with the imperial domain. Last night, the imperial domain spread the news overnight. The governor also informed all the Star Lords. The Star Lords did not dare to delay for even a minute and summoned all the city lords of the major cities. Did something big happen? How can we be concerned about these things? Let's just wait quietly for the news. These are the elites of the elites. We'll wait. Hee hee. We'll just watch. When the crowd did not get a response from Yi Qinghan, they started to change the topic. Thousand Leaves Galaxy. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He thought that they were still in the imperial domain. He did not expect that they had actually left the imperial domain and arrived at the Thousand Leaves Galaxy. How long did Emperor Yi fly at top speed yesterday? Emperor Yi obviously did not expect that he had flown out of the imperial domain. He only felt that it was better to be as far away from Emperor Abyss City as possible. He had exhausted all his chi. The god-slaying eagle was so tired that it did not want to move anymore. Only then did he stop. The Thousand Leaves Galaxy was not too far away from the imperial domain. However, the imperial domain was vast and boundless. It was not something that an ordinary person could cross in a short time. Only Emperor Yi with the god-slaying eagle could use half a day and one night to rush out of the imperial domain. This galaxy was several times bigger than the Xiaolong region. The spiritual qi was overwhelming. The cultivators were also several times stronger than the Xiaolong region. There were plenty of elites. However, Yi Qinghan did not discover any true super geniuses. Heh. You guys don't know, right? I heard that something big happened in the imperial domain. Even a major force like the ancient massacre god was mobilized. An adventurer whispered. What is the ancient massacre god? Someone was curious. Obviously, the ancient massacre god was not particularly famous because it had always been behind the scenes. Eh. You don't know about the ancient massacre god. You guys should know about the hunter, right? That adventurer looked at the others with disdain. The hunter. Of course we know about it. That killing robe. Eh. Why is that person wearing the killing robe of the hunter? Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi was only wearing the immortal sect's Taoist robe and did not attract the attention of others. However, Yi Qinghan's killing robe was dull and looked like a fake. Fake. This brat wants to become a hunter. He must be crazy. He actually dares to wear a fake killing robe to swindle people. Isn't he afraid that the law enforcers will arrest him? That adventurer looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain. He glanced at the 3 dull stars and the word kill without any killing intent. He insisted that the killing robe worn by Yi Qinghan was fake. Yi Qinghan smiled. It was not easy for someone to recognize the killing robe. After all, the hunters were not active in the rear of the human race. Most of them were at the front of the battlefield. Most of the human race had never seen the killing robe. I have a distant cousin who is also a hunter. He is already a 1-star hunter. I have seen the real killing robe. That star can steal people's souls. The word kill is like an eternal killing demon that wants to break out of its imprisonment. Even a great revered martial artist would feel scared just by looking at it. Look at this person's killing robe. It's dim, and it's 3 stars. He's only a Dao sovereign, and he looks like he's heavily injured. His killing robe must be fake, the adventurer said proudly. Idiot, the killing robe's power depends on the master's spirit. Now that my master has been seriously injured, the killing robe will naturally be dull and the word kill will not appear. This is a very normal thing. Don't think that you know how to talk nonsense, the parrot said with disdain. You little bird, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. The adventurer was enraged. Yo yo yo, TSK TSK TSK. How could the parrot be afraid of an ordinary adventurer? It immediately raised its head and puffed out its chest, looking down at the crowd. It said with disdain, a rookie like you, this divine bird can send you to the imperial domain with a slap. I'll let you see what the ancient killing god is, what the killing robe is, and then listen to my master's fame and glory. Pa, a crisp sound rang out, and the inn quieted down. A handsome young man walked into the inn with 2 women in his arms. He had an arrogant expression on his face as he looked down at the crowd. His eyes swept over the crowd and fixed on Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. When he saw the killing robe, his pupils shrank. Then he looked at the word kill. Sure enough, it was fake. He said coldly, take off your killing robe, or don't blame me for throwing you into the Azure Dragon Manor's prison. Chapter 227. The young man was dressed in an embroidered jade robe, hugging 2 women in each arm. He looked coldly at Yi Qinghan and the killing robe with disdain. Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold, not even turning his head as he continued to look out the window. The parrot glared back at him with an even more disdainful gaze, saying with disdain, brat, your glabella is turning black, there will be a bloody disaster today. Quickly go home and find your father. Courting death. Daring to pretend to be a hunter and swindle people from behind, are you tired of living? The young man glared coldly at Yi Qinghan, reprimanding him. Are you blind? If you can't recognize the killing robe, then stop pretending. My master is a genuine 3-star hunter, and my little master is a 5-star hunter. They have made great contributions to the human race. This brat doesn't know any better, scram, don't affect master's mood. The parrot raised its head and puffed out its chest, jumping onto the table and saying arrogantly. Humph, you don't dare to speak, yet you sent a mixed breed of beast to speak. Do you think this young master doesn't know? The hunters are all in the imperial realm, stopping the dead spirits and the myriad races. Those people don't know life from death, actually going against the ghost gods. You are even more ignorant, actually daring to pretend to be one of them. The young man mentioned the hunters, but there was no respect, more sarcasm. That's right, that group of people really have nothing better to do, letting the supreme existence of the forbidden land control the endless universe. Who knows, we might even be able to live forever, but they resisted, saying it's for the glory of the human race. Meddlesome. The two women in the young man's arms were even more ignorant, humiliating the heroes of the human race, drawing the dissatisfaction of the crowd. But because of the young man's identity, no one dared to speak out. This young man was the youngest son of the Azure Dragon Manor principal, Shang Kuan, a complete silk pants. His brain was comparable to Yi Kuan's. Idiots like him were definitely not in the minority, disrespecting the ghost gods. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, killing intent rising in his eyes. It was fine if this kind of trash disrespected him, but he couldn't insult the hunters. Yesterday, countless hunters clearly knew that they would die, but they still rushed up without hesitation, wanting to protect him, protect the Huang Jin bloodline, and the emperor corpse. It wasn't that they didn't know life from death, but for the human race. Because if they had retreated yesterday, the ghost gods and the human race would have no more days. They were the undisputed heroes. He represented the glory of the human race, and no one was allowed to humiliate him. How dare you? Yi Qinghan turned his head slightly, and coldly looked at the three men and women in front of him. His murderous intention was obvious. What a joke. This young master is telling the truth, not an insult. Besides, this Azure Dragon City belongs to my family. I can say whatever I want. Don't say that you are a fake hunter. Even if you are a real hunter, you still have to stand aside for me. Shang Kuan said in a cold and arrogant manner. As soon as these words were spoken, the inn was filled with murderous intent. A murderous aura filled the air, and the aura of death enveloped Shang Kuan and the two seductive women. Young master is mighty. This servant admires you so much. The two female cultivators who didn't know the difference between life and death had flattering looks on their faces. They made disgusting expressions as if they really worshipped Shang Kuan. Fellow Daoist, forget it. He's the Azure Dragon Mansion's most favored young master. An adventurer sitting at a table behind Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly as he turned his head to remind Yi Qinghan in a low voice. When Shang Kuan heard this, he became even more arrogant and looked down on everyone. Idiot! How stupid is your father to let you out to bite people? Just based on this sentence of yours, if it spreads to the imperial domain, your entire family should be executed. The parrot shook its head. If it argued with a smart person, it would definitely win. However, it couldn't argue with such a brainless fool. Little bastard, you've angered this young master. Today, I'll let you have a taste of being roasted by fire. Shang Kuan's eyes emitted a cold light as he said coldly. Young master, don't be angry with these lowly commoners. They still want to go to the imperial domain. I'm afraid they'll die of old age before they can even fly out of the Thousand Leaves Star region. Ha ha ha. What a joke. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Birds of a feather flocked together. This was an eternal truth. Although these three idiots were extremely stupid, what they said was true. No one in Azure Dragon City dared to argue with Shang Kuan. Whoosh, Puchi. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. With a flick of his finger, two streams of energy flashed past. The two seductive women in Shang Kuan's arms spurted out blood from their throats, dyeing Shang Kuan's clothes red. Ah! You bastard, how dare you kill my people? I'll let the Azure Dragon army chop you into minced meat. Shang Kuan directly threw the two corpses to the side. He didn't care about their lives at all, but he felt that his dignity had been insulted. Master, don't be angry. Let me handle it. Emperor Yi hurriedly said when he saw Yi Qinghan's pale face. Whoosh. Boom. Shang Kuan knew that Yi Qinghan was an expert. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to kill 2 female cultivators in an instant. Shang Kun didn't even have the chance to resist. Therefore, he directly shot out a cloud-piercing arrow. The arrow exploded in the sky, forming a giant azure dragon in the sky. The dragon's head pointed directly at the inn. "Young master, leave quickly. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late," the person behind him warned. That's right. No one dares to provoke him within a 10,000 li radius. The Azure Dragon Manor has always been like this. We're already used to it. No experts will come to this remote city. The Azure Dragon Manor is the overlord of this area. Whatever they do depends on their mood. You guys should leave quickly. Otherwise, you'll definitely implicate this little girl. Everyone warned Shang Kun through voice transmission, but no one dared to speak up. It was clear how arrogant Shang Kun was normally. Humph, they don't know what's good for them. Looks like this divine bird has to make an appearance. With this small city in the middle of nowhere, if the immortal sects don't come, who can be this divine bird's opponent? The parrot was incomparably arrogant. It could finally show off its skills. Alright, I'll sentence him to death. You go and execute him. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Understood. I guarantee that I'll complete the task. At this moment, Shang Kun was proudly looking at the large group of Azure Dragon army approaching. The entire Azure Dragon city was shaken. Boom, 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 there were at least 1,000 Fate Palace experts, 100 early Dao sovereigns, more than 10 mid-Dao sovereigns, and 3 peak Dao sovereigns surrounding the inn. Everyone was so scared that they didn't dare to make a sound. Come quickly. There's a bastard who came out of nowhere. He dared to kill this young master's maidservant in front of everyone in the city. He also spoke rudely and insulted my Azure Dragon city. That means he's looking down on the Azure Dragon army. Capture him. Shang Kun pointed at Yi Qinghan and shouted. Young master, don't worry. It's just a bastard. We'll capture him easily. The deputy commander of the Azure Dragon army, Shang Luo, was a branch of the Shang family. He relied on his connections to reach this step. Although he didn't have any real ability, he was quite good at using his connections to intimidate others. He personally led the army. Within 10,000 li radius of Azure Dragon City, no one dared to disrespect him. More than 1,000 Azure Dragon army soldiers were incomparably dignified. They all wore the same uniform with a lifelike Azure Dragon embroidered on their shoulders. Murderer, scram out here, otherwise don't blame me for shooting you to death. Shang Luo pretended to be dignified, coldly reprimanding, not treating the people in the inn as human beings. Yi Qinghan coldly looked out the window, sighing in his heart. The human race was so vast, there was no lack of people who would help the villain do evil. Use your killing robe, don't implicate the innocent. Just exterminate the Azure Dragon Manor's Shang family's direct line of descent and the evildoers. Yi Qinghan slowly stood up, saying to Emperor Yi. Boom! Emperor Ye's aura erupted, activating his 5th grade killing robe. The 5 stars on his robe flickered, emitting a divine light. The word kill could steal a person's soul. Weak people would be scared to death just by looking at it. The whole Azure Dragon City was filled with killing intent. They're really hunters. Everyone cried out, trembling from shock and joy. They stepped forward and bowed, Great Lord Hunter, please uphold justice and return justice to Azure Dragon City. Go out and testify for me. None of the guilty people of the Shang family can escape. Yi Qinghan coldly said. Emperor Yi supported Yi Qinghan as they stepped out of the inn. His cold gaze swept over the Azure Dragon army, sweeping over Shang Kun. The killing intent in his eyes was so dense that it was tangible. Shang Kun and the others shuddered. Emperor Ye's killing robe was too terrifying. It was much more terrifying than the killing robe they had seen before. It was clear that Emperor Ye's status and strength were much higher. Lord Hunter. Shang Kuan's legs went soft, falling to his knees with a loud thud. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up, looking down at the Azure Dragon army. He wanted to see if they were sincerely helping the Azure Dragon manor or were forced into helplessness. Greetings, Lord Hunter. The 1,000-strong army knelt down, saluting respectfully. Get up, arrest the Azure Dragon army's higher-ups and the Shang family's people. Those who resist, kill without mercy. Yi Qinghan's will surged, speaking in a low voice. You dare. You eat my family's food, use my family's resources, my father trained you with all his strength, do you dare to kill your master? Shang Kuan gritted his teeth, unwilling to give up. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes as he prepared to kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan did not signal Emperor Yi to make a move. He wanted to see the Azure Dragon army's true colors, to see if they still wanted to dominate the Azure Dragon city. We've had enough. Now that Lord Hunter has personally given the order, what are you waiting for? Some people from the Azure Dragon army were furious, standing up to arrest Shang Kuan, Shang Luo, and the others. The higher-ups of the Azure Dragon army were enraged. Their aura erupted, suppressing the Azure Dragon army that was about to make a move. Those who dared to resist and those who dared not resist were evenly divided. There were good people in the Azure Dragon army after all. Yi Qinghan glanced at them and remembered them all. He said indifferently, it's good that you have the courage to resist. Now, separate from the rest and step aside. I don't need the help of Fate Palace experts. Make a move, the rest are to die. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. It was just a few hundred trash, he didn't care. Whoosh! Emperor Yi and the god-slaying eagle turned into armor, their wings covering space and time. The Azure Dragon city was plunged into darkness. With a flap of their wings, a huge storm formed in the sky, sweeping the hundreds of Azure Dragon army, Dao Venerables, and Shang Kuan out of the city. How dare you? This is the Azure Dragon city, who dares to behave atrociously here? The immortal sect experts' auras recovered, and their divine senses instantly locked onto Yi Qinghan and the others. The Azure Dragon Mansion Master was actually an expert from the immortal sect. He arrived outside the Azure Dragon city in a flash. Looking at Emperor Ye's soul-stirring 5-star killing robe, and his cultivation level was only a mid-level Dao Venerable, he couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Emperor Ye's identity must be terrifyingly high. Azure Dragon Mansion Master Shang who greets Lord Hunters. May I know why the two of you are so angry and want to attack my son and the Azure Dragon army? Shang who pretended not to know and asked in a low voice. Chapter 228. Outside Azure Dragon City, the wind was raging. Emperor Yi gently spread his wings. Even the Dao Masters could not stand still, their faces full of shock. Emperor Yi raised his head coldly. Although he did not open his eyes, his divine sense had locked onto Shang Hu. Although Shang Hu was an immortal sect expert, he could not escape from Emperor Ye's lock. He was shocked. You are the city lord of Azure Dragon City, the father of this bastard who blasphemed against the martyrs? Emperor Yi asked coldly. Shang Hu broke out in cold sweat. He did not dare to raise his head to look directly at Emperor Yi. He bowed and said, Sir Hunter, although my son is a playboy, he would not insult the martyrs of the human race. Are you saying that I am framing him? Emperor Yi asked disdainfully. I don't dare, good. Now, are you going to seal your Sea of Qi or do you want me to kill you? Emperor Yi interrupted Shang Hu indifferently and asked coldly. Shang Hu's expression turned cold. He coldly glared at Emperor Yi and said in a deep voice, Your Excellency, aren't you being a bit too unyielding? I'm only giving you face because you're hunters. Otherwise, with your cultivation, I wouldn't even consider you worthy of my attention. As the saying goes, a strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its old haunts. Give me face, and I will repay you double. Father. This person killed my maidservant. Shang Kun was hysterical. He pointed at Yi Qinghan and roared. He could not wait to kill Yi Qinghan. You shut up, idiot. We have spoiled you too much these years. You have been doing evil all day and doing nothing. Causing trouble. Now, apologize to the two lords. Shang Hu rebuked angrily. There is no need for him to apologize. Your face is worthless. Kill them. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. He could tell that this cultivator from the celestial sect had not done many good deeds. Keeping him alive would only harm his own kind. Yi Qinghan couldn't be bothered to waste his breath and directly ordered Ren Huangyi to kill him. You don't want face. Today, I'll destroy you. Shang Hu was furious. His immortal aura erupted as he reached out to grab Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Qing. Emperor Yi radiated divine light in all directions and transformed into a divine Guqin. Waves of light sparkled and his aura soared into the clouds. Even though his 5 fingers and the god-slaying eagle armor had transformed, they were still cut by the Guqin strings and blood splattered everywhere. Groan, the sound of the zither was filled with murderous intent. A sound blade tore through the air, shaking the heavens and the earth. The great path rumbled. Boom! The sound blade instantly shattered the attack of the celestial sect expert, piercing through the void and piercing through Shang Hu's body. Bang! The body of the immortal sect expert exploded into pieces, staining the void with blood. He didn't even have the chance to struggle before his life force was destroyed and he died tragically on the spot. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Shang Kun was almost scared to death. An expert from the immortal sect, the strongest expert in Azure Dragon City. He was killed by a little girl at the middle stage of Tao Master Realm. In the name of the Emperor, I sentence the blasphemer to death. Emperor Ye's voice was so majestic that it shook the mountains and rivers. Hundreds of experts from the Azure Dragon army fell to their knees and begged for mercy, not daring to refute him. Fairy, please spare our lives. We can't. Boom! The sound of the zither transformed into a sharp sword that pierced through the void and appeared outside the city. Sand and pebbles flew in all directions and went against the flow of the heavenly river. Crack, 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 a terrifying deep crack appeared on the ground. The sword chi instantly killed hundreds of Azure Dragon army experts and high-level Tao masters. Their blood stained the ground and their corpses were all reduced to dust. Blurg. The adventurers had experienced countless battles but had never seen such a scene. They all retreated and vomited. Whoosh, the parrot spat out a mouthful of fire, igniting its vigorous chi and blood. The sky was set ablaze outside Azure Dragon City. With a plop, the crowd saw Shang Kun collapse to the ground in fear. His pants were wet as he stared at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi in horror. You don't respect the martyrs but respect the ghosts and gods. You're definitely not the only idiot in the human race, but you're definitely the only one who dares to insult the martyrs. It's too easy for you to be sentenced to death. In your next life, you can reincarnate into the monster race. Yi Qinghan disdained trash like Shang Kun. He gathered a bit of destructive chi and directly killed him. The remaining Azure Dragon army experts swallowed a mouthful of saliva as cold sweat dripped down their backs. Their hearts were beating so fast that they felt like they were about to explode. Go deal with the Azure Dragon Manor. It's time to change a new manor lord. Yi Qinghan calmly looked at the adventurers behind him and said, You are all natives. Go gather everyone in the city and judge the Shang clan. The guilty will not be able to escape, but it's best if you don't frame an innocent person. Yes. My lord, we will never frame an innocent person. The Azure Dragon Manor has done too much evil in these years, there are probably only a few innocent people left. The group of adventurers rushed towards the Azure Dragon Manor. The Azure Dragon Manor was grand and luxurious, even bigger than some of the palaces in the Imperial region. Who knew how much wealth it had accumulated over the years? Are you all courting death? How dare you act so atrociously in the Azure Dragon Manor? Bang! Emperor Yi opened his eyes slightly. The light of destruction pierced through the cultivator's body and instantly burned him into nothingness. The moment the Azure Dragon City heard that the Shang family in Azure Dragon Manor were going to be judged, all of them wanted to tear the Azure Dragon Manor apart. Yi Qinghan felt like his head was about to split open. He waved his hand and ordered the Azure Dragon City to select a person of virtue and prestige to become the Manor Lord. The person would be responsible for all matters of the Azure Dragon City. He also ordered someone to pass down the order. The Star Lord of this planet immediately acknowledged the fact that the Azure Dragon Manor's Manor Lord was going to be replaced. Emperor Yi took out the treasures the Azure Dragon Manor had accumulated over the years. There were countless treasures, including some grade 5 treasures. These treasures were the best for recuperating one's body. Yi Qinghan used these treasures to recover a portion of his battle strength. On the third day, Yi Qinghan brought Emperor Yi out of the Azure Dragon City, heading straight for the center of the planet. This planet was called the Thousand Dragon Star. It was slightly bigger than the Owl War Star, but it had more resources. Thus, the cultivators here far surpassed the Owl War Star. The main area of the Thousand Dragon Star was a vast city called the Thousand Dragon City, named after the Qianlong family. The Thousand Dragon Star was the Qianlong family's private property. The Qianlong family was an ancient family that was incomparably powerful. They had a God realm expert and had always been the overlord of this place. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were very low-key at this moment. They did not wear their killing robes, appearing like a rich young master and a servant girl on a scenic tour as they quickly approached the Thousand Dragon City. Inside the Thousand Dragon City, the Qianlong family was holding an emergency meeting. The experts of the immortal sects coldly looked at the younger generation and said in a low voice, "Two young experts have come to the Thousand Dragon Star. You'd better not cause trouble and provoke them. If anyone dares to bully others, immediately banish them from the family." Tens of thousands of direct disciples and powerful branch family disciples sucked in a breath of cold air. The Qianlong family had always been the overlord of this planet. The Qianlong family's disciples were the emperors of this planet. They did not need to give face to anyone who came. Who was it this time? Who could make the Qianlong family panic? They actually called for a family meeting to warn everyone in advance. Third Master, who came? Did the Emperor Realm's prince come personally? The Qianlong family's little princess, Qianlong Yunxiao, was curious, and her eyes lit up. The people she wanted to see the most in her life were young experts at the Emperor Realm. That's right, Third Master, tell us. The young experts of the Qianlong family were all curious, and their eyes were filled with battle intent. They wanted to compete with the Emperor Realm's prince. I don't know who came, but the Master of the Stars personally reminded me to pay attention to a young man and woman. If I find them, I must treat them with respect. So, don't mess around. Someone who can make the Master of the Stars pay attention to is definitely not ordinary, warned the expert of the immortal sections. Qianlong Yunxiao looked at a young expert beside her, blinked, and said, "Brother Daybreak, didn't you want to challenge an Emperor Realm expert? Your chance is here." Qianlong Daybreak was the strongest expert of the Qianlong family's younger generation. He was in the early stage of the Immortal Gate, and his combat strength was unparalleled. It was rumored that he had killed a mid-stage Immortal Gate existence and was comparable to an Emperor Realm expert. However, he had never fought an Emperor Realm expert before. The Qianlong family was looking forward to the day when he could be comparable to an Emperor Realm expert and become a pseudo-emperor or even a quasi-emperor. If that happened, the Qianlong family would become even more powerful, and it was very likely that they would dominate the thousand-leaf star zone. Qianlong Daybreak was as handsome as jade. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he whispered, "Soon, it will be the battle that will make me famous," announced that we're looking for a young man and woman. I want true experts. Inform me immediately when you find the target. The Qianlong family quickly became active. The Qianlong family's patriarch did not stop them. Instead, he was somewhat hopeful. It was just a challenge from the younger generation, so it should not be enough to anger an Emperor realm expert. Outside Qianlong City, a blue bird soared through the sky, and thousands of flowers bloomed. The spirit qi was rich, and it made people feel refreshed. A young man and a young woman came with the wind. The man was as handsome as jade, and the woman was otherworldly. Although they attracted the attention of many people, no one treated them as Emperor realm existences. "Master, how much of your combat strength have you recovered?" Emperor Yi was worried. If he entered the main city at this time and got into a conflict with someone, it would be easy for problems to arise. 70%. It's just that I've used up a little too much of my origin, so I'll need a lot of time to recover. Yi Qinghan looked very relaxed, but his injuries were still very serious. Yi Qinghan raised his head and looked at the vast Qianlong city. This ancient city had a history of 10,000 years and had witnessed the arrival of great emperors. It was full of ancient charm and vicissitudes, and it was awe-inspiring. Purple qi came from the east, and the mighty heavenly river was filled with great Tao patterns. Experts were born in large numbers. Early-stage Tao sovereigns were everywhere, but there were not that many immortal sect experts. As for divine martial experts, there was not a single one. Even if there were, they lived in seclusion, like ordinary old people. Let's enter the city and experience the Tao of Qianlong City. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. The Qianlong family's Qianlong technique was a top 7th grade secret technique. If one cultivated it to the peak, they might be able to step into the false emperor realm. It was worth learning from. I know the principle of the Qianlong technique. The law of their attacks is the trap technique, especially the joint formation technique. It can trap high-level experts, and after a long time, it's not a problem to kill experts of a higher realm, the parrot explained proudly. You know a lot, but it's a pity that it's useless. Yi Qinghan shook his head slightly and smiled faintly. Don't underestimate this divine bird. When I get the origin of fire, I can evolve into a 9th grade devouring godly eagle, an existence comparable to the divine phoenix. The parrot raised its head proudly and said with great dissatisfaction. Chapter 229. Thousand Waterfall City was vast and majestic. The parrot chattered incessantly as he followed Yi Qinghan into the city. An ancient aura greeted him. The huge Thousand Waterfall City was actually the private property of an ancient clan. No one knew how strong this ancient clan was. It was very likely that they wouldn't lose to a fake emperor clan. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were shocked by Qianlong City. Ancient buildings that towered into the clouds rose and fell continuously. They were filled with the markings of the precepts. Qianlong City, which had witnessed the arrival of the great emperor, had the majesty of the great emperor, which made people revere him. Let's pay a visit to the Thousand Waterfall ancient clan and see their secret technique and tyrant martial technique. Yi Qinghan held Emperor Ye's hand and walked towards the depths of Thousand Waterfall City. The Thousand Waterfall ancient clan had countless buildings and branches and direct descendants. There were hundreds of millions of people in total. After all, they had been passed down for countless years and had a deep foundation. Yi Qinghan looked up at the entrance of the Thousand Waterfall ancient clan. There was a huge stone tablet that was 10 meters tall with the words, Thousand Waterfall ancient charm, lasting for 10,000 years, engraved on it. He was somewhat expectant. A clan that had been passed down for so many years was already something to be proud of. Many quasi-emperor clans might not be able to pass down for so long. Just as Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi arrived at the entrance of the Thousand Waterfall Ancient Clan, the Thousand Waterfall Ancient Clan received the news. A large number of experts rushed out and looked curiously at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. They couldn't see how a pale-faced young man could be an emperor. As for Emperor Yi, she looked like a maid with her eyes closed. They didn't think she was an expert at all. I am Yi Qinghan. I am passing by with my disciple, Emperor Yi. I have come to pay a visit to the Thousand Waterfall Ancient Clan. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly and said. The Thousand Waterfall Ancient Clan's Grand Elder, Thousand Waterfall Lu Feng, personally came out to welcome them. He frowned slightly as he felt that something was wrong. Yi Qinghan's cultivation was too low. How could he have attracted the attention of the domain lord? I welcome you on behalf of the Qianlong clan. May I know if fellow Yi is from the imperial region? Qianlong Lu Feng probed. I am indeed from the imperial domain. I am a 3-star hunter. This is my disciple. He is also a 3-star hunter. Yi Qinghan transformed into the 3 stars killing robe, and Emperor Yi followed suit. His murderous aura radiated in all directions, seizing one's soul. Qianlong flowing wind sucked in a breath of cold air. A Tao master was actually a 3-star hunter. How strong was their combat power? Qianlong Daybreak and Qianlong Yunxiao stepped out of the Qianlong ancient clan and looked at Yi Qinghan with confusion in their eyes. Wasn't he supposed to have the battle prowess of the arch? Why were there 2 Tao masters here? And why did they look so sickly? Please come in. I want to have a good exchange with the young experts of the imperial region as well, and I want the juniors of the clan to know more about the geniuses of the imperial region. Qianlong Flowing Wind didn't think that Yi Qinghan was sickly. He could see that he was seriously injured, and his true combat power hadn't been revealed. Yi Qinghan smiled. The ancient clan was indeed an ancient clan. They had a strong foundation and magnanimity. The group entered the Qianlong clan. Countless experts surrounded them and looked curiously at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. They were secretly surprised. Did the Qianlong clan hold a special meeting for the 2 of them? They couldn't see anything special about them. Thousands of young children gathered in the Qianlong ancient clan's martial arts field. They were cultivating together. They looked to be only about 10 years old, but their cultivation was not inferior to the blood ignition realm. It was clear how terrifying the clan's foundation was. Fellow Yi, my Qianlong ancient clan has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. Do you think we are worthy of your attention? Qianlong Flowing Wind was arrogant but didn't show it. However, one could hear the pride in his heart. Such a clan was not inferior to the super forces of the imperial region. Senior, you're being too courteous. This junior here isn't a native of the imperial region. It's just that I've only arrived here later on and joined the ranks of the hunters. Therefore, there's no need for you to think too highly of me. Yi Qinghan smiled calmly. Indeed, an ancient race being like this deserved to be proud of. Yi Qinghan didn't act overbearing. Qianlong Flowing Wind couldn't help but feel satisfied. He brought them to the forest pavilion in front of them and looked at the martial arts field from afar. Senior, I would like to see the Qianlong combined attack secret technique and the strongest secret technique of the Qianlong clan, the tyrant martial attack technique. I wonder if you can broaden my horizons. Yi Qinghan looked at the thousands of disciples in the martial arts field. They were rather imposing. He couldn't help but want to see what the strongest secret technique of the ancient clan was like. This. Qianlong Flowing Wind hesitated for a moment. Until now, he hadn't figured out Yi Qinghan's true origins. He couldn't be sure if Yi Qinghan was the person the region lord wanted to pay attention to. It was too casual to reveal the Qianlong clan's secret technique. Qianlong Breaking Dawn raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, the Qianlong combined attack technique and the tyrant martial attack technique are not secret techniques for show. If you want to see it, you can be my opponent. Oh. Can I really? Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and looked at Emperor Yi. He decided to let her experience the ancient clan's secret technique. No problem at all. I can fight you personally with the tyrant martial attack technique as long as you can withstand it. Qianlong Breaking Dawn's battle intent surged. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Qinghan's 3 stars killing robe. He said coldly, "Don't worry. The ancient clan won't take advantage of you. I will suppress my cultivation and fight you on the same level." Qianlong Breaking Dawn was extremely arrogant. He didn't think that his battle strength was any weaker than the emperor's son's. Even if Yi Qinghan really had the battle strength of an emperor's son, he would still defeat him on the same level. Yi Qinghan shook his head. His source was damaged, so he wasn't in the right state to fight. He understood that Qianlong Breaking Dawn was no ordinary person. His battle strength was probably not inferior to Gu Qingyu's. If he wanted to win, even if he was at his peak, he would have to pay a certain price. "Son, go and experience the ancient clan's Qianlong combined attack technique and the tyrant martial attack technique. Don't be careless," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Qianlong Breaking Dawn frowned and said unhappily, "What do you mean? You want a little girl to fight with me? Are you looking down on me or my Qianlong ancient clan? Breaking Dawn, don't be rude. Young Master Yi is seriously injured and his source is damaged. It's not convenient for him to fight," Qianlong Flowing Wind reprimanded. "Since young Master Yi is not suitable for battle, it's unfair for my brother Breaking Dawn to fight with a little girl. It also doesn't show the strength of my Qianlong ancient clan's secret technique. Since that's the case, I'll reluctantly fight with this little girl. How about it?" Qianlong Yunxiao smiled and walked up to break the awkward situation. Her voice was as clear as an oriole's. Qianlong Yunxiao was also a super existence among the younger generation of the Qianlong clan. Her tyrant martial attack technique had been cultivated to the 4th level, which was only 1 step away from Qianlong Breaking Dawn. Her palm could break a top-grade 4 spiritual weapon. If she used her full strength, her tyrant martial attack technique could break a grade 5 combat weapon. The Qianlong clan was very confident in Qianlong Yunxiao. They felt that it was more than enough to deal with Emperor Yi. "All right." Yi Qinghan nodded. This time, he only wanted to see the tyrant martial attack technique and the Qianlong combined attack technique. If Emperor Yi fought with Qianlong Breaking Dawn, it would be easy for him to severely injure the other party. It would inevitably embarrass the Qianlong ancient clan. Emperor Ye's peak combat strength was probably not inferior to Yi Qinghan's. In fact, he might even be stronger. The zither immortal crimson demon physique could turn one's body into a zither, and its melody could break all laws. Even the gold origin physique couldn't defend against it. "My son, be careful," Yi Qinghan reminded him telepathically. Emperor Ye's killing robe fluttered as he slowly stood up. His invincible battle posture burst forth. There was a world of difference between when he was fighting and when he was docile. Everyone was stunned when they saw Emperor Ye's temperament change. They watched as he took a light step forward and stepped 1,000 meters away into the martial arts arena. They all gasped. The law of space. Qianlong Yunxiao immediately knew that Emperor Yi was definitely a top-notch expert of the same level. The arrogance in her heart immediately dissipated, and she treated him as an expert of the same level. "All disciples, leave the martial arts arena immediately. Take a good look at the battle between the geniuses of the imperial domain and our Qianlong ancient clan. It will be very beneficial for your future cultivation," Qianlong Flowing Wind said in a low voice. His voice spread over a radius of 10 miles. "Yunxiao, your cultivation level is higher. Be careful. Don't hurt the guests," Qianlong Flowing Wind kindly reminded, not wanting to hurt their friendship. It's fine. Fairy, go ahead and use your full strength, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Qianlong Yunxiao was dissatisfied and glared at Yi Qinghan. She felt that Yi Qinghan was too arrogant. As a great martial venerable, she rarely had an opponent even in the same level, let alone a little girl with a lower cultivation level. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. The reason why he let Emperor Yi fight this time was naturally because he wanted her to gain more battle experience. If Qianlong Yunxiao suppressed her cultivation level, then it would be meaningless. Thinking of this, he raised his head and said, Fairy, if you can win by half a move or two, I will give you a complete profundity of origin. Qianlong Flowing Wind and the others were stunned. A complete profundity of origin. Wasn't this bet a little too big? Even their ancient clan, which had been around for 10,000 years, did not have a complete profundity of origin. With a complete profundity of origin, the strength of the entire clan would increase by a level. Are you serious? Qianlong Yunxiao clenched her fist and asked in a low voice. Of course. As long as you can win, Yi Qinghan calmly replied. Young master, you can't joke about this. Qianlong Flowing Wind suddenly stood up. Her eyes were filled with anticipation and dissatisfaction. She felt that Yi Qinghan was joking. I never joke. If this fellow Taoist is willing to teach my disciple and can win, then my words will still count. Yi Qinghan was going all out in order to give Emperor Yi another life and death experience. He was even using the profundity of origin as bait. Kikik, Qianlong Breaking Dawn clenched her fists and looked at Yi Qinghan. She said in a hoarse voice, Young master, how can you be so arrogant? Even if your disciple has the battle strength of a princess, it is impossible for her to defeat me with the difference of a small cultivation level. Why can't I see any sincerity in you to use the profundity of origin as a wager? Hua! Yi Qinghan waved his hand in the air. A water dragon emerged from a large river within the Qianlong ancient clan and pierced through the void. It twisted and turned with an extraordinary aura. It swooped down from the void and bared its fangs. It was as if a true dragon had appeared. With a twist of his finger, the water dragon coiled around Emperor Yi. He looked down at the crowd, shocking everyone from the Qianlong ancient clan. The profundity of water origin is very complete. As long as anyone of the younger generation can defeat her, I will give it to that person. Even if the Qianlong combined attack technique can defeat her, it will be the same. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. All right. Since you want me to fight, then I will fight. I will teach the younger generation for you. Qianlong Breaking Dawn's aura erupted. Her immortal sect battle robes fluttered in the wind. She looked down on everyone and stepped into the arena. Chapter 230. Qianlong Breaking Dawn had an extraordinary aura and elegance. He landed on the martial arts practice field and looked at Emperor Yi as if he was a junior. He put his hands behind his back and looked very relaxed. Emperor Yi waved his hand and a divine Guqin appeared in his arms. He was waiting for Yi Qinghan's order. Qianlong Flowing Wind's fingertips trembled and he was very excited. He thought to himself, whether Emperor Yi is a princess or not, he can't defeat Breaking Dawn as a middle-level Tao master. The Qianlong family will definitely win the profound meaning of water. But I have to make it clear that Yi Qinghan can't take advantage of it. Mr. Yi, if Breaking Dawn defeats Emperor Yi, will you teach him the profound meaning of water? Qianlong Flowing Wind stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a deep voice. Yes. As long as he can win. But if he loses, I also want to experience the tyrant martial aggressive attack of your Qianlong family. What do you think? Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Qianlong Flowing Wind trembled and his eyes shone. He stared at Yi Qinghan and realized that Yi Qinghan came for the tyrant martial aggressive attack. He couldn't help but feel uneasy. Yi Qinghan stared at Qianlong Flowing Wind. He was determined to win the Tyrant Martial Aggressive Attack. The Tyrant Martial Aggressive Attack was a secret skill named by the Divine Martial Emperor himself. It was recorded in the Divine Martial Emperor's code that the Tyrant Martial Aggressive Attack would be immortalized through the ages. It could strike mountains and rivers and break the sun and moon. If one wanted to prove his Tao, he could cultivate the Tyrant Martial Aggressive Attack. A 7th grade secret skill that could be valued by the Great Emperor must have its strong points. A secret skill that could be valued so highly by the Great Emperor must be unique among the 7th grade secret skills. Once this sentence was spread, the value of the Tyrant Martial Aggressive Attack would skyrocket. It would even attract thousands of races, forbidden lands, and experts of the human tribe to fight for it. Don't worry. My son and I will only experience it. We won't teach it to others. Yi Qinghan looked at Qianlong Flowing Wind calmly. There was no expectation in his eyes, which made Long Flowing Wind very puzzled. Judging from his expression, he doesn't seem to be looking forward to it at all. Why would he be willing to use an essence quintessence to bet against my Qianlong clan's tyrannical martial technique? My Tyrant Martial Aggressive Technique is one of the 2 most powerful secret techniques of the Qianlong clan, and it has never been taught to outsiders. Rumor has it that even the Supreme Divine Martial Emperor has cultivated my clan's Tyrant Martial Aggressive Technique. Furthermore, it also repaired the Tyrant Martial's Fierce Strike technique without any flaws. Therefore, this Tyrant Martial's Fierce Strike technique has always been my family's most precious secret technique. Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind was extremely cautious. What? In your opinion, a complete water origin profound is inferior to the tyrannical martial's horizontal strike technique, or do you think Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn will lose without a doubt? Yi Qinghan asked with a smile. The corner of Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind's mouth twitched. He had been provoked by Yi Qinghan's provocation. He immediately said in a deep voice, "All right, but before I agree, I must first understand you. The tyrannical martial horizontal strike technique cannot be handed over to someone of unknown origin. My master is the top genius of the ancient killing god, a disciple of the Tao realm Holy Land. The heavenly dragon sacred dynasty promised to marry the little princess to him, but my master refused." The parrot could not hold back anymore and rushed out to say. Yi Qinghan smiled and suppressed the parrot directly. He said indifferently, "Senior, you can ask the ancient killing god or any pseudo-emperor or quasi-emperor of the other Tao realm Holy Lands through the Star Master. They all know that kid, I'm a hunter, which is enough to prove my identity." Qianlong Yunshao and the others gasped as they stared at Yi Qinghan with their eyes wide open. There was a look of disbelief in their eyes. He was only a Tao master, but he was able to make the 9 great Tao realm Holy Lands and the ancient killing god quasi-emperor aware of him. How heaven-defying was he? Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind sent a message to the leader of the Thousand Dragon ancient clan, Thousand Dragon Dominating Martial, and he quickly received a reply. He only replied with one word, "Yes." "All right. I'll bet with you." Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind's eyes flashed, but he was curious. Who was Yi Qinghan? What was Thousand Dragon Dominating Martial doing? Why did he only reply with one word? According to the rules of the competition, those who enter the arena lose. If one side admits defeat, the other side can no longer attack. This time, the main focus is to learn from each other. Don't hurt the harmony. You may begin, Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind said in a low voice. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn looked at Emperor Yi, who had his eyes closed, and did not frown. He did not want to waste time. He formed a seal with his hands, and his figure flashed. The sky was filled with shadows, and the shadows of his palms seemed to be real, shaking the void. Tyrant Martial's sweeping technique. An angry roar was deafening. Yi Qinghan stared at Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn and grasped his trajectory with his eyes. He saw that Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn was exuding a domineering aura, and his right arm was like a divine weapon that wanted to forcefully break the sky. Emperor Ye's frail body was distorted, and he was constantly shaken by this terrifying aura. Emperor Yi did not make a move. His divine sense locked onto Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn, and he felt the trajectory of his opponent's every move. He even felt that the speed of Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's true essence was increasing crazily. Bang! Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's body turned into a divine weapon, and he slashed across the sky. His true essence poured out like a divine sword, wanting to shake Emperor Yi into dust. Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind was very cautious, and she was ready to save Emperor Yi at any time. She hoped that Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn would win against Emperor Yi, but she also did not wish for Emperor Yi to suffer heavy injuries and offend this unknown and strangely high-status Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Emperor Yi instantly disappeared from everyone's sight. None of the young powerhouses noticed how Emperor Yi disappeared, but Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind, a divine martial powerhouse, saw it. Her steps had already reached the pinnacle of subtlety, and her body flashed under the Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique. If she had been just a little bit higher, the Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique would have snapped her in half. Unfortunately, Emperor Yi dodged, and only a strand of hair was cut off. Then, the Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique shattered it into nothingness, and it disappeared without a trace. Qianlong Flowing Wind sucked in a breath of cold air. He was shocked by Renhuang Ye's terrifying speed. She didn't use the law of space, but she could dodge the Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique. Is she really only at the middle level of Tao Master? Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind was so shocked that she could not speak, and she murmured in her heart. Emperor Ye's expression did not change, and his divine senses were still locked on Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn. His fingertips moved slightly, and a strand of melody shattered the void, and a murderous aura filled the air. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's expression changed slightly, and she felt that her Taoist heart was in a frenzy, and her true essence was restless, wanting to rush out of her body. Humph! Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn snorted, and used part of her strength to suppress the restless true essence and calm her Taoist heart. She had lost 20% of her battle strength. I've underestimated you. But if you want to dodge my attack with speed alone, you've underestimated me. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn shone brightly, and her palms moved faster and faster, and her method of forming seals became more and more advanced. The law elements between heaven and earth were stirred, and the overbearing aura became more and more intense. Emperor Ye's eyes were still closed, but none of her seals escaped from his divine senses, and the direction of her true essence was clearly detected. Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique, break the Milky Way. Boom! The array of the martial arts practice field was activated, and divine light shot out in all directions. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn was indeed the top expert of the younger generation of the ancient clan. She transformed into a divine martial, and her aura could break the Milky Way and the ninth heaven. The entire martial arts practice field was under her attack. Yi Qinghan's fingertips moved slightly, and his eyes were fixed on the battlefield, for fear that Emperor Yi would be in danger. Buzz buzz buzz, the melody was hurried, and it swooped down to the Milky Way. The celestial dipper glove was cut by the strings, and blood stained the divine zither. The divine zither became more majestic, and it wanted to suppress everything in the universe. Swoosh, the space shattered, and countless overbearing sharp blades cut across the void, surrounding Emperor Yi. Swoosh! Swoosh! Emperor Yi used the spatial law, and with her initial success in the law, the entire sky was under her control. Countless sharp blades disappeared inexplicably, and they killed their way into a different space, unable to approach her at all. However, there were too many sharp blades, so many that it was impossible to count them all. There would always be some sharp blades that could break through the void and rush in front of Emperor Yi. They swept past his forehead, and a drop of blood essence floated out. Emperor Yi calmly controlled the space, and more overbearing sharp blades appeared and then disappeared. This made Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn suck in a breath of cold air. Only now did she realize that the gap between her and Emperor Yi was like heaven and earth. Even if Emperor Yi stood there motionless and allowed her to attack, she wouldn't be able to harm even a strand of her black hair. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn could also see that Emperor Yi didn't attack at all, and only used the law to allow her to attack freely. If she didn't use the fourth level of the Tyrant Marshal's sweeping technique, it would be very difficult to defeat her. Her face couldn't help but turn ugly. Was this the battle strength of the Empress? Even relying on a major realm couldn't shake her. Buzz, Emperor Yi and the god-slaying eagle turned into armor, and their wings covered the time and space. The martial arena was plunged into darkness, and then golden light shot out in all directions. The pressure made it difficult for the experts to breathe, and it alarmed the experts of the Thousand Dragon Ancient Clan. More than 10 divine martial experts arrived, and they looked at Emperor Yi and Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn in shock. They were speechless for a long time. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn had always wanted to fight with the Emperor's son and Empress, and her dream had come true. If they were at the same level, Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn would have lost already. Be careful. I'm going to use my strongest battle strength. If I can't block it, I'll immediately retreat from the martial arena. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's eyes were cold. Although she had lost, she didn't lose her mind. Her hands clawed at the void, and the aura of primal chaos poured out. The aura of an ancient overlord enveloped her, and the golden body emitted a tyrannical aura as if it could pierce through the universe and time. Emperor Yi slowly plucked the zither strings, and the murderous sound of the zither spread out, suppressing Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's battle strength and forcefully mobilizing his true essence. Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn used half of his battle strength to suppress his true essence, and he could only mobilize half of his true essence. However, his aura was still overwhelming. If it wasn't for Emperor Yi, he could have fought the Emperor's son at the same level. Even if he lost, he wouldn't lose too badly. Unfortunately, his opponent was Emperor Yi, and he didn't have the battle strength of a princess, but the physique of a human sovereign. Extreme Tao Tyrannical Martial, 10,000 miles. Boom, boom, boom. Hua, 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 a bolt of lightning appeared, piercing through the universe. It fused with Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's true essence and turned into a golden divine dragon. It swept across thousands of miles, causing the sky to shatter. The array formation of the martial stage had been activated to the highest level. At this moment, Thousand Dragon Breaking Dawn's battle prowess was no weaker than the Imperial Prince's. Boom! Thousand Dragon Flowing Wind and the other divine martial experts stood up and approached the martial arena, ready to save Emperor Yi at any time. Emperor Yi's face was as calm as water. His eyes were closed, and his slender fingers pressed on the zither. He whispered, "Zither transformation." Hua! A divine light shot up into the sky and broke through the clouds. The gigantic zither stood there, as if an extreme Tao monarch weapon had descended, suppressing everything. Break! Renhuang Yi plucked 3 invisible strings. His true origin poured out and transformed into an emperor arrow that could shoot through the endless universe and pierce through time and space. It appeared in front of the golden dragon, and its chi was unstoppable as it entered the golden dragon's body. Chapter 231. A sharp arrow pierced through time and space, entering the golden dragon's body and exploding. Qianlong's strongest attack dissipated in the air, while the sharp arrow pierced through thousands of miles and rushed into the end of the universe. It exploded in the depths of the endless universe, illuminating the horizon. Everyone was stunned. Qianlong was stunned on the spot, his face full of disbelief. His Tao heart roared as he landed on the martial arts arena dispiritedly. He muttered, "Is the battle strength of the crown prince and princess really so unshakable? I'm the strongest expert of the younger generation of the ancient clan, but I can't even shake a mid-stage Tao sovereign little girl. Lost. How is this possible?" Qianlong Flowing Wind's eyes were filled with disbelief. Qianlong had always been the pride of the ancient clan. He was confident that he could fight against the crown prince, but he had lost inexplicably. The other party had only used one move. Emperor Yi returned to his Dao body and was extremely calm. He formed a seal with his palms, and the aura of the feudal marshal was even stronger than Qianlong's. He struck with his palms, and the air billowed. Feudal marshal's aggressive technique. Emperor Yi had only exchanged 3 moves with Qianlong, but he had used the complete feudal marshal's aggressive technique. The tens of thousands of experts of the ancient clan were about to go crazy. This was a huge blow to the ancient clan. Who didn't waste decades or even centuries to cultivate the feudal marshal's aggressive technique? Even a basic mental cultivation technique would take a few years. How long did Emperor Yi use? Half an hour. There was nothing more shocking than this. Qianlong had lost. It could only be said that Emperor Yi's battle strength was really terrifying. However, Emperor Yi had instantly learned the first stage of the feudal marshal's aggressive technique. That was too terrifying. Qianlong's Dao heart was rapidly changing. It was very likely that it would shatter. His expression turned even uglier. Daybreak. Calm down. Qianlong Flowing Wind roared, his voice like thunder. Qianlong Flowing Wind looked at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, "Please tell me your origins. I don't believe that you're just hunters." "That's right, please save Daybreak's Dao heart." The experts of the Thousand Dragon clan said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan didn't expect Breaking Dawn Qianlong to set himself as such a great target. He actually wanted to be mentioned in the same breath as the Imperial Sun, yet he had lost to Yi Qinghan. It was inevitable that such a reaction would occur. If the path heart of a young cultivator of the ancients was shattered because of a competition, the ancient Qianlong clan would definitely resent them. Breaking Dawn Qianlong, do you know who Emperor Yi is? Yi Qinghan sent a voice transmission to Breaking Dawn Qianlong's consciousness. Qianlong Daybreak stared at Emperor Yi and murmured. His face was lifeless. Even if Emperor Yi was the princess, he could not restore his broken heart. She has the physique of a savage human emperor. Zither immortal crimson demon physique. Not to mention you, even if the princes and princesses encountered her, they would still be defeated. You were able to force her to use her full strength. Losing to her is an honor, not a disgrace. Yi Qinghan berated. Breaking Dawn Qianlong's body trembled. Savage human emperor physique. That was no longer the strength of an imperial prince. That was the physique of a future emperor. It was indeed an honor to be able to force a future emperor to use her full strength. Breaking Dawn Qianlong's aura suddenly erupted. Not only was his Dao heart not shattered, but it became even stronger, as steady as a boulder. Qianlong Flowing Wind was overjoyed. He looked at Yi Qinghan gratefully. He knew that Yi Qinghan must have told Breaking Dawn Qianlong about their true origins and identities. Moreover, Emperor Yi's status must be frighteningly high. Otherwise, Breaking Dawn Qianlong would not have become like this. Unlike the others, Qianlong Yunxiao stared fixedly at Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi was already so terrifying. As her master, how powerful would Yi Qinghan be? Unfortunately, what Qianlong Yunxiao did not know was that if Emperor Yi were to use his full strength, even Yi Qinghan would have to stand aside. If he wanted to defeat Emperor Yi, he would have to at least complete the 9-revolution chaotic Dao body. Breaking Dawn Qianlong bowed and respectfully said to Emperor Yi, "Daoist Emperor Yi, please enlighten me. I am willing to personally lead the team and use the Qianlong combined attack technique to become your stepping stone." Qianlong Flowing Wind and the others were stunned. They did not understand why Breaking Dawn Qianlong was so humble and willing to be his stepping stone. Who was Emperor Yi? The future empress of all ages? Alright, thank you. Emperor Yi spoke. His voice was like the sound of nature. Qianlong Combat Immortal, Qianlong Ultimate Martial Arts, Qianlong, Breaking Dawn. Qianlong called out the top 10 experts of the younger generation of the ancient Qianlong clan. Qianlong Flowing Wind was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. With such a team, using the Qianlong combined attack technique, they could blast a low-level Emperor's disciple of the Immortal Gate into pieces, let alone a mid-level Dao Lord like Emperor Yi. Breaking Dawn, what are you doing? Don't be rude. Qianlong Flowing Wind scolded in a deep voice. Qianlong Flowing Wind thought that Breaking Dawn Qianlong was jealous of Emperor Yi and wanted to take the opportunity to kill him. It's okay. I want to see the real Qianlong combined attack technique, Emperor Yi said in a low voice. Whoosh! Emperor Yi merged with the god-slaying eagle armor again and flew up. The array was broken. He looked down at the top 10 experts of the martial arts practice field, including Qianlong Yunxiao. I will be the eye of the array. Use all your strength. Breaking Dawn Qianlong stared at the top 10 experts behind him. Any one of them could dominate a region. If they joined forces, their power would be earth-shattering. Tap, 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 the 9 experts surrounded Breaking Dawn Qianlong and spun at high speed. The whole martial arts practice field turned into a cage. Golden light flashed, and no spells could enter. The origin was blocked. Buzz, 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 Emperor Yi was in the air with his divine zither. He played the zither with both hands. His black hair danced, and the world was restless. Countless people felt their blood boiling, and their blood was being purified. They wanted to rush to the martial arts practice field and fight. The aura of the top 10 experts burst out. Their black hair twined, and divine light filled the sky. When they worked together, their combat power was not inferior to the combat power of the Imperial Prince. They formed a prison in the martial arts practice field and imprisoned Emperor Yi on the spot. Tyrannical martial strike, zither breaks mountains and rivers. Human sovereign, heaven and earth collapse. Emperor Yi's body was like a divine butterfly. He danced gracefully, and the mountains and rivers rose and fell. The divine zither shone brightly, and the prison of heaven and earth could not suppress his human sovereign aura. Boom! She integrated the tyrannical martial art into her zither Dao, and turned it into the most terrifying attack. The void shattered, and the prison of heaven and earth shook violently. The top 10 experts formed hand seals, and their combat power was fully unleashed. Their true essence poured into the prison of heaven and earth, suppressing Emperor Yi. They kept draining the spiritual qi in the prison, quickly depleting Emperor Yi's true essence. The divine martial artists' hair stood on end, and they looked at Emperor Yi in horror as if they were looking at a goddess. Qianlong combined attack. Tyrannical martial art attack, break. Breaking Dawn Qianlong shouted angrily. He mobilized his unparalleled combat power, and combined with the true essence of the other 9 experts, he attacked the prison of heaven and earth with the most terrifying tyrannical martial art attack. Yi Qinghan's pupils constricted. Such power was definitely not inferior to Lin Aoqiong's peak sword. It might even be stronger. Their combat power had been multiplied by 10 times. This attack could definitely kill someone with a top-tier imperial bloodline. Zither transformation. Tyrannical martial art attack, zither illuminates mountains and rivers. Heaven and earth mourn, 10,000 arts gather, shattering heavenly Tao. The gigantic zither shone brightly, and its aura spread for thousands of miles. Emperor Yi's terrifying aura exploded, shocking millions of miles, and rushed into the Thousand Leaves galaxy. It was as if a great emperor had descended, suppressing the qi and blood of the experts. A sharp sword shot out from the shadow of the zither and attacked the opponent's tyrannical martial art attack. Boom! Emperor Yi's tyrannical martial art attack was the true tyrannical martial art attack. All shackles were pushed aside, and the combined attacks of the top 10 experts were destroyed continuously. The sharp sword rubbed against the sky, and it was quickly consumed and shattered. It was terrifying. This Qianlong flowing wind was so shocked that he could not speak. Even his own Dao heart was beaten black and blue, and he felt like he was going crazy. When did the Qianlong ancient clan's combined attack and the tyrannical martial art attack become so weak? This is impossible. Breaking Dawn Qianlong roared. The eye of the formation was under terrifying pressure, and he kept retreating. His boots were crushed, and his body was distorted. His face was ferocious, and he swore that he would not retreat. The glory of the ancient clan could not be defeated. Boom! The sharp sword and the attacks of the top 10 experts exploded in the void at the same time. The airwaves broke through the confinement of the formation, and the divine martial experts all came out to block the aftershocks. Their faces became serious, and they looked at Emperor Yi with eyes full of respect. Puff! Breaking Dawn Qianlong and the other top 10 experts spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Like kites with a broken string, they fell backward. Emperor Yi did not have it easy either. This attack used up all of his strength, and even the power of the god-slaying eagle was drained. The god-slaying eagle shrank back, and its weak body fell to the ground. Yi Qinghan shifted his position and caught the pale-faced Emperor Yi. In a flash, he returned to his original position, as if he had not moved at all. Streams of true essence and the origin of water poured out of Yi Qinghan's body and into Emperor Ye's. Emperor Ye's face gradually regained its color. He groaned softly, and his eyebrows twitched. He wanted to open his eyes. Yi Qinghan did not want to bear the light of destruction. He covered his eyes with his hands and said softly, "Rest well." Ren Huangyi fell into a deep slumber. The mark of the divine Guqin continued to spin, sucking away all the spiritual qi between heaven and earth. The amount of spiritual qi was rapidly being restored. The Thousand Dragon clan was deathly silent. They were all afraid of disturbing the goddess. Breaking Dawn Qianlong knew that Emperor Yi had the physique of a human sovereign, and it was the #1 human sovereign in the wilderness. The Thousand Dragon clan's joint attack and Tyrant Marshal's horizontal strike were able to force Emperor Yi into such a state. It was an absolute honor. However, Qianlong Yunxiao and Qianlong Battle Immortal did not think so. The top 10 experts had joined forces. Except for Breaking Dawn Qianlong, they were all great martial venerables, and Breaking Dawn Qianlong was at the initial stage of the Immortal Gate. But such a joint attack had actually lost. They did not feel good about it. After a long time, Emperor Yi woke up. His battle prowess had once again increased significantly. He held Yi Qinghan's large hand like an obedient girl next door. He bowed slightly and thanked them, "Thank you." Breaking Dawn Qianlong's face was flushed. It was as if he saw the future emperor thanking him. He was so excited that he could not speak. After a long time, he knelt on one knee and cupped his fists. Breaking Dawn Qianlong of the Thousand Dragon clan is willing to follow Emperor Yi with the top 10 experts of the younger generation. We will protect you until death. We beg for your mercy and take us in. It was not so easy to conquer a follower. Emperor Yi had conquered the top expert of the younger generation of the Thousand Dragon clan in just 2 hours. Flowing Wind's expression was ugly. The strongest elite of the ancient clan was willing to be someone else's follower. Moreover, it was a little girl in the Dao sovereign realm. Even if Emperor Yi had the chance to become a quasi-emperor in the future, he did not have the right to do so. Big brother. Battle Immortal Qianlong and the others looked even worse. They felt that Breaking Dawn Qianlong had gone crazy. He wanted to be a follower and even dragged them along. Kneel. Emperor Yi is worthy of your kneeling. He will be the supreme glory of our human race. Breaking Dawn Qianlong's aura exploded as he angrily rebuked the people behind him. He was incomparably majestic. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly as he pulled Emperor Yi. His eyes flashed. The ancient clan had a deep foundation. If he could take in breaking Don Qianlong and the others, it would be no less than taking in an emperor as a follower. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.